Welcome into the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. Folks, I have an incredibly fascinating program loaded up for you today. We've had some really divisive things that have happened in our society lately. And the one thing that we want to say automatically when a crime's committed is throw the book at him. It's the first thing we say, and we say he gets or she gets what they deserve. Today's show, I think I might want to change your mind on that. I have an incredibly interesting guest with me today who has a really good book out there that I had the privilege of reading this weekend. It's called Crime and Unusual Punishment, a memoir of the psychological realities of federal prison. My guest is Dr. Paul Smith. 8 prisons in 51 months. And it is a unique look at the inside of the federal prison system. And I'm going to bring in Dr. Smith here in just a moment. We're going to talk about his experience within the federal prison system. You know, it's easy for us to get callous and say the crime fits the punishment fits the crime, but does it? It's one of the things we're going to explore today with Dr. Smith. Paul Smith, PhD, was born in 1964 in rural Michigan, practiced as a clinical psychologist for 23 years in hospitals, universities, outpatient clinics, and a thriving private practice. In 2018, amid severe personal challenges, he committed healthcare fraud, leading to an indictment and a 51-month federal prison sentence, of which he served 28 months. This experience reshaped his views on justice and humanity. Now, as an author, Dr. Smith draws on his professional expertise and personal journey to write insightful works. As a dedicated traveler, he infuses his narratives with global perspectives. As a father of 4, his children ground his writing. Dr. Smith's unique blend of expertise and lived experience establishes him as a distinctive voice in contemporary literature, offering profound reflections on the human condition. I want to welcome in for the first time to True Crime Tuesday, Dr. Paul Smith. Dr. Smith, thank you so much for being with us today.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Let's start it off today. Before we get into the story, I want to get your current take on crime and punishment in general, because we've been in kind of a tumultuous period in our history here, where I think people are seeing more and more violent acts out there, and the knee-jerk reaction is they get what they deserve. I think as an outsider, from the outside looking in, the first thing we think is, you know what, throw the book at them, death penalty, do this, do that. If they did it, they deserve it. You have an interesting take in the book as to from a prisoner's perspective. And I'm wondering if you'll share that with my audience real quick.
Well, sure. And I agree with you. I think that there is a tendency within our society that crime should be punished harshly. I would say most people in society view it that way. But I think they don't fully understand what the punishment is when they say that, especially the prison experience, which is a very, very harsh experience for anyone who experiences it. So you look at prison as a punishment. You have to look at what is it? What's the purpose of it? Is it to just punish the person for the crime they committed, hopefully in proportion to the crime? Some say that it's used partially to deter others. So you want to make it harsh enough so it deters the person from reoffending or others in society thinking about committing crimes. And there is the rehabilitative component of prison. Supposedly, prison is supposed to help correct or rehabilitate an offender, so they have something more than what they had before they went in, so they could function in society. I would say that doesn't occur very much either, the rehabilitation component. And I would say that our sentencing, it's just a fact, in the United States, we put more people in prison than any other country by far.
Yeah.
I think the next closest, and it's less than half in terms of total numbers, is Russia. We have over 2 million people, I believe, that are in jails, state prisons, federal prison, so on, at any given time. And I think Russia is probably a little under 1 million. So our sentences are, we sentence a lot of people to prison, and the sentence lengths tend to be longer as well. So, and that's occurred over time. And you have to ask the question, has that curbed crime? Has that solved anything in society in terms of crime? Many can argue that well, crime rises, it goes down, it rises, it goes down. And who knows exactly? Sometimes it's economic factors, sometimes it's policy,
Right.
sometimes it's just the milieu, what's going on at the time.
Right.
So, but it certainly hasn't went down. They haven't solved that problem, let's say crime. I think it's something that is going to be an ongoing challenge for society going forward. So how do we deal with it is the question.
I think you're absolutely right. There's, like you said, there's determining factors that keep that going. And then there's, when you look at the prison system in general, and this is one of the other things I wanted to get to before we get to your story, and that is exactly how rehabilitative the prison system really is. I mean, when you read your book, it's easy to see that the system isn't rehabilitative at all. What it does is it sets up a pattern to get you used to the punishment, almost to set you up for a pattern of expecting a lifetime of punishment so that you can't live on the outside. It's almost like you expect to, you're being conditioned to be punished. So it's almost like setting up and forgive me, because I don't want people to think, well, Tim, you're a bleeding heart, you're, blah, 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 blah. But psychologically, and if you've had any, even if you're a dime store psychologist or had a few psychology courses in classes in college, you realize as you're reading your experience in this book that it's a drill sergeant PTSD experience where you're conditioned over and over and over again to realize that this is your condition, this is your world now, you're never getting out of this, even if your stay is limited. I mean, your stay, in your case, your stay was not 10, 20 years. It was a short stay, but they had you set up at the same level psychologically as someone who was in for 20 to 30 years. It's that same mentality that you're less than human, subhuman. We know you're going to be back. Do you feel like you were given that experience? Like
Well, there's definitely this stigma, and stigmas develop through through what you were talking about. You're kind of, it's said over and over. It's reinforced. It's the message comes from many different sources, so on. And let's we both agree that you need to do something with crime. And I believe we need to punish those. There needs to be negative consequences for crime. All right. So I'm not saying that we shouldn't, uh, there shouldn't be a harsh experience. Prison's going to be difficult,
Mhm.
but there are aspects of it, I think, that are harmful, that are actually cruel and harmful to a human being. And I think that's where we got to draw the line. So as far as the punishment, the punishment, the whole book is about punishment, but it's also about punishments that occur prior to prison and after prison. So when you commit a crime, there's all the, there's the shame, humiliation, so intense shame and humiliation, and the losses of a career, your livelihood, your family, your freedom, so on. You go into prison, you face the harsh conditions of that. It is a survival environment. You survive it. Then you get out, and you have the stigma of being in prison. And there are some punishments. I'll be punished in ways for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So, and I will, I know that I will be. It's just the way that it is. So when you commit a crime, you get sentenced, and the punishments never end in a way. And I would say that the prison so far has been the worst. The indictment period between indictment and actually going into prison was very hardcore too. You're kind of waiting for it. You're going. You don't know exactly when. You don't know exactly what it's going to be like if you haven't experienced before. And it's just a miserable time. So
Yeah.
so the whole experience is bad. And you're right. You are in so many different ways. You're dehumanized. You're viewed as an enemy, um, as a dangerous person, even though I didn't commit a violent crime. You're categorized by, into all these categories that society views that are common amongst all prisoners, which it's simply not. There are differences in there. There are murderers, there are rapists, there are violent criminals, and there are those that are not violent. And but you're lumped together.
Yeah, you are.
It's hard. Yeah.
Very much so. Very much so. I there's a few things that struck me in this book as odd, unusual choices that were made by administration, that took you on different paths. And uh, it seems like, the deck gets shuffled and I understand that's done so that you don't get comfortable. There are different things that are done to make sure that you don't get comfortable. And the idea is that you don't get comfortable, especially in the federal system, that you don't grow attachments, that the idea is that, you're to be, your life is to be turned upside down, right? And that's easier to condition that way. It's easier to make a better inmate to do it that way. The one question I have here is, there are other models out there, Doctor. There are models in Europe where they make a better rehabilitation experience, where they're rehabilitating criminals and making them active members of society and having a much better rehabilitation rate. Yet, as this society, we haven't looked into it because we do have models like for-profit prisons. Do you feel like if we looked at some of those more successful models in Europe and adopted some of those, that maybe we would have a better rate coming out of prison of success?
Well, I think if we're looking at recidivism and let's say, well, recidivism, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
because that's the idea behind rehabilitation. If you rehabilitate the person, what you're trying to do is help them become a contributing member of society and not likely to reoffend, because a lot of your criminologists view poverty and lack of education is a big part of crime. So obviously, if you can train and rehabilitate, I think that you could reduce it. Now, if we have those numbers from Europe, if they show that this indeed is working, then I think that we need to apply that here. But we need to have society as a whole agree to that. If they want rehabilitation, then the majority of society needs to want that. And I don't know if the only way we're going to do that is if society has a very real understanding of what's going on in prison. Because you hear the opinions out there in the news and so on, that or the themes. Some say that you're in, use the term club fed. It's just easy in prison there. They have it made and so on. It's simply not true. It's miserable.
Yeah.
All places are miserable. There's not much good that comes out of prison. Okay, so those people don't know what they're talking about. And then you have those that just don't believe that people can change. Well, I don't think that that's true. Obviously, I went into a field where I believe people can change, um, given the right conditions and intervention. I think they can, but we have to be serious about it. And that's going to require really an overhaul of the prison system, because it's set up to just warehouse people and security, which is important.
Mm-hmm.
You want to protect society, but it's not really set up for much more than that. So you go in, you rot, basically. There are some programs you can do. There are some people that walk out of there with some certificates. There are people that had CDLs and so on, and I know some that are using that today. They're actually working and they're maintaining a living, and it's great. It's great. But I can tell you, at that particular facility, the person who was in charge of that training, that individual prison staff member, was exceptional. He made it successful. And I don't think you see that as a common across the board experience in prison. I think it's very mixed and lacking, I think, mostly in terms of follow through on any kind of training and rehabilitation. So,
Is now, don't get me wrong here. There's opportunities, as you're pointing out. There's opportunities to better yourself. It seems like when I read the book and when I get your experience, that sometimes those opportunities are few and far between, and other times prison culture gets in the way of people fully wanting to take advantage of these opportunities. And sometimes it's the length of service or length of sentence, not service, but sentence for someone like, say, who's in for life. I mean, what are you going to do with an opportunity like that? You're never going to get out, so why use it? Is it a combination of those factors? What is it that keeps an inmate from potentially wanting to take full advantage of all services that are there?
well, they have to be available. So, if you go to the Bureau of Prison website and you look at the individual prison facilities, they list some training and programming that go on. But when you go there, which happened to me in multiple facilities, they just don't have it. They list it as it being there. Maybe they had it a couple of years in the past, but none of that stuff's updated, and it does not match reality. And I did experience certain entry into certain programs was maintained by certain groups. So if you weren't, let's just say an example, because I'm thinking of one where it was a particular program which seemed to be ran by Hispanic inmates. If you weren't Hispanic, you were not getting into there. You were not getting into it. So now that happens a lot. I saw that a lot. Now there are some that it seems to be open to whomever. It seems to be ran more so by the prison staff, and the prison staff takes pride in their training. So they take care of those barriers, and you see people from all races and groups getting CDLs, which is great. And I'm thinking of that case again.
Right.
But there are other cases where it definitely is maintained by prison staff or prison inmates, a lot of the activities and some of the programs. And, that the programming, the rehabilitation component, that's where it just cannot be ruled by the prisoner environment, the culture. There's going to be some intervention by the system to say, this is going to be available to everyone. Okay. This is not going to be an issue where we're going to argue and fight with the inmates on. This is going to be something they have to accept, which can be difficult in certain prison environments, but they have to basically sell those ideas sometimes. So,
Okay.
in fact, some entry may cost you. You have to pay. Uh, there are a lot of things for sale in prison.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I would think, and this that strikes me as odd that in order to rehabilitate yourself, you'd have to pay for it. I get it's the university model. I get that. But and to better yourself, you want to have to invest in yourself. I get that as well. But at the same
No,
time,
no. I mean, you'd have to pay if there were, let's say, certain groups that were
oh,
managed
oh,
to
okay.
train, you'd have to pay them through
Okay.
whatever monetary unit that they use, stamps or food or whatever,
I got you. I
to
got
get in there in
Okay.
some cases. So there's a lot of rackets in there.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. I
Yeah.
wasn't catching that. Gotcha, Dr. Smith. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, So let me before we go to break here, which we'll go here momentarily, and then we'll get more into your story and your circumstances. Um, I guess wrapping up the overall talk of the prison system in general, it to me, as far as rehabilitation goes, and we'll end on the rehabilitation note on this. Do you feel like these changes, these wholesale changes, in order to get someone, whether they be serving 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, do you feel like when you take that chunk of time away from somebody, that you can truly rehabilitate somebody with the amount of trauma that someone goes through? When you take that chunk of life out of their, or that chunk of time out of their life, do you feel like once they've come out, that it does reform them, that they can get back to life as we know it, that they can change their life around? Or have we stacked the deck against them to a point where they can't get back to a regular life?
That's a very good question. What I saw was this. I saw inmates that were in for a long period of time, let's say 12, 16, 20 years in, and you can see the condition, the institutionalized condition that a person develops over time. And when these inmates get out of prison, a lot of them are disabled. They can't function in society because when you basically take on, assimilate the prison culture for that long of time, it becomes your second nature to you. It becomes your reflex. And you try to use that same belief system, same way of interacting with people out in the world, it doesn't work. You're not going to get very far being selfish and uh, inclusive, I mean, exclusive, I mean,
Yeah.
where you stick with your own group and so on, mistrusting any kind of authority. You just can't survive out there. So they do come out, and many of them are disabled. The ones that have been in for long prison systems. I would say that from what I saw, those that were engaging in activities that they could use in the outside, some sort of training, absolutely was helping them out. I could see where it would help them out on the outside, and I saw it in some people. I had people that I know, inmates that one had done 12 years and the other one 16 years, and they got out, and I'm still in contact with them, and they're doing great.
Oh, okay.
And they're doing great. Now, I keep coming back to that CDL,
Yeah.
that particular person, and they did it, um, and they did well. Now, both of these guys did not have high school diplomas. They got them while they were in there
Yep.
because you can reduce your time. The Federal Bureau of Prisons will reduce your sentence if you it'll increase your good time if you get a high school diploma. So they or a GED. So they get that. So I would say that it does work. I saw it work. Now, I don't know what the global statistics are, but I have to believe that if you're preparing these people and you're giving them activities that are good, they do make better inmates because they're productive and they're doing something that can help them on the outside. You have to believe that. And I'll tell you what, these people, there's this idea of redemption, right?
Mm-hmm.
People who want to right the wrongs, they want to try to, as much as they can. I don't know how you do that if you murder somebody, right?
Right.
Or you rape somebody. I don't know how you do that, but there are people that have went on to try to right the wrong, try to help others from falling into the same situation and so on. And it is a testament to the human spirit, that kind of change. And that kind of change is powerful.
Yeah.
And I think that is part of that rehabilitative component as well. I think it's a powerful thing. It shows the human spirit that humans can change and they can be very productive.
I'll have a key question for you that's somewhat on that vein at the end of the program. I'm not going to end with that question, but it's kind of a confusing, puzzling question that, from your psychological background, I want to get an idea from you on too. But with that, it's interesting. You keep bringing up the CDL example, but I find it kind of ironic in a funny kind of way that the biggest success story is the one where the person who was locked down the most got the most success out of being free and out on the road. Do you find that kind of,
It's a
you know,
good way to look at it.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
And they are on the road. Some of them are on the road all over the country too,
yeah,
or in a certain geographic area. But yeah, they're free and they're doing well, and they're reconnecting with family and all that. A lot of it is the work they did before they got out. But what since they've been out, they've been working. Work is a huge component of any kind of rehabilitation when you're talking about prisoners. Work, the dignity of work, the power of work, being able to do things. And that should be one of the core components of any rehabilitation, is to get people to work. And I would like to see people actually working and making income while they're in prison. I don't know how they would design it, but I think that I know personally, if I could have helped pay for, help my family,
hmm,
because they were left without me and, that income and all that stuff. If I could help continue to support them in some way, my children, and maybe save some money for rent and an apartment before I got out and all that, prepare myself, I think that would be a great thing.
yeah,
Um, you know,
yeah. Goals, right? I mean,
yeah.
the other thing, and before we go to break, I'll ask you this as well. Do you feel like with that set of structure or organization, and you talk about work, does the discipline of that set up future success on the outside? Maybe if it were more work centric, more work oriented, do you feel that that would put that structure forward? Because a lot of times kids from an underprivileged background don't have that structure. They don't have that discipline at home. And that's kind of starts them down that road. Maybe if there were more of a father figure structured work outlet instead of a punitive one, do you feel that that would be more successful?
Well, I think if there's benefits, and there are clear benefits, both in when you're in prison and outside, then I think people are just going to gravitate towards it. I think it's going to, hopefully those that become somewhat leaders, or uh, people that kind of call the shots in there, if they get engaged in that, that can have a powerful effect on others that are coming in and so on. It kind of say, these are your expectations. Your expectation is to not just sit there and rot. You're going to get involved in these programs, and this is something that's going to help you while you're in here and help you when you get out as well. So, my father said, you got to learn how to work. He says, just getting up every day is something you got to learn what that means.
Yeah.
So, and he's right.
Yeah.
And I tell you, I was blown away. I met people that were in their 50s that never had W-2 income in their
Really.
whole life. They just got their money off working the streets. It's amazing how many I met. So,
Oh,
again, I think you come back to uh, work and consistency with that. And there's got to be rewards, not just future promise of rewards, but if they could make it to where you could start making some kind of money there, some sort of value, and you're able to do things that are positive. I think it could be powerful. Because part of that is money management too, right? You got to manage your money, and you got to so on. I think all of that could be very powerful in terms of rehabilitation.
well, it would take nothing to take the labor force that you have in a prison and turn it around and make it a labor force for a company, right? And have them manufacturing goods.
Yes, and they've tried it, but what they've done is they have like a Unicore program in there, and it's work, but you get paid maybe, I don't know, it's a couple of dollars a day. It's not real work, real compensation. I think that you should look at the idea of minimum wage.
Right. Exactly.
Just like any other company, if you're going to pay, you pay.
Right.
You pay a wage that is at least a minimum wage, and then the program, the prison facilities, and those that manage the programs. Let's say on the outside, let's say if it is let's say a private corporation, or one that's maybe a mixture of private and government funded program where you're making things, then you need to work that out between the entities. I do know that they do make some things for the military. There are some clothing and other things that are made by the prisoners that end up going to like the Navy or the Army. And I think there are other things like that go to government agencies. But, again, it has to be real work. It has to be more immediate reinforcement.
Yeah, absolutely.
Reward. Yeah.
Absolutely. Dr. Paul Smith is our guest. Cruel and Unusual Punishment, a memoir of the psychological realities of federal prison. It's out by wildbluepress. We have a link in the description of this program. Folks, I encourage you to go get this book. It's going to change your mind as to what's going on in the federal prison system, as to what's going on with crime and punishment, as to exactly how we treat prisoners in our prison system, and make you think a little bit as to when you say, you know what, let them hang. Well, do we? It's really going to get you start thinking about humans as human beings and how we treat our system in general and the redeemable prisoners. Now, we will talk towards the end of the program about the irredeemable ones. I do have a question for Dr. Smith about that, but that'll come at the end of the program. When we come back, I do want to find out more about Dr. Smith's story, and it's a fascinating one. And I do want to talk about some of the little trip-ups along the way that the federal system did throw at him and the challenges they threw at him. I use the word challenges very, very lightly here because they're more than just challenges. But the way they used transfers to trip him up along the way to, let's just say, especially in a challenging time, which Dr. Smith was in the federal prison system during COVID. So we'll talk about COVID and exactly how dangerous it was at that time in the federal prison system. You want to talk about being a sitting duck at a time when the pandemic is running wild, when disease is running rampant, and we don't know how to control it. We'll talk to Dr. Smith about facing those challenges and the challenges of the federal prison system where they don't want to count anything as a number. Much, much more. A lot of fascinating stuff coming up with Dr. Paul Smith. Again, the book is Cruel and Unusual Punishment, a memoir of the psychological realities of federal prison. Link in the description of this program. Go get the book right now. When we come back with Dr. Paul Smith, we'll talk COVID, we'll talk transfers, we'll talk the federal prison system and his experience, much, much more right here on True Crime Tuesday. Welcome back to the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. My guest is Dr. Paul Smith. The book is Cruel and Unusual Punishment, a memoir of the psychological realities of federal prison, and it's a good one, folks. It's a book that you will sit down, you'll get engrossed in, first of all, because I can't imagine you won't. You put yourself, Dr. Smith does a wonderful job of putting you right inside not only his head and his heart, it gets you right to the heart of what he's going through, what he's feeling, what he's thinking, but it also puts you right in the heart of that prison. You can see yourself in that cell with him, and it's uncomfortable. The entire experience, I got to tell you, Dr. Smith, is uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable. I don't ever want to be there. I'll just be honest with you. I don't ever want to be there. And I think it's a great deterrent. I think your book would be a wonderful deterrent to hand out to troubled youth. I think it'd be a wonderful book to hand out to people who are at risk. I'll throw that compliment out to you right away. I just think that, you've got a really good book here for people who may be thinking about going down the wrong road.
Well, thank you. And that was one of the things I had in mind when I wrote this, is that this would be me bringing the reader to that experience and saying, this is what's going to happen. This is what you're going to get some of this stuff. Some stuff to a lesser degree, because obviously I was in during COVID and there was a lot of lockdowns. And I also went through a number of different transfers, as you know, and that whole process was quite difficult. So not everybody would experience that many transfers, but you might get transferred at some point, and there are experiences unique to that process.
Now, you started out here I'm in Minnesota. You started out here in Duluth, Minnesota, and because of what was deemed a conflict of interest with one of your colleagues, we'll get to that. We'll get to the actual crime in a minute.
Sure.
But I find it fascinating because of one of your colleagues that you knew. Automatically, the wheel starts turning. I mean, did you? And I want to ask you just about this incident, and then we'll start at
Sure.
the beginning, back at the beginning again. Did that did that throw you off? Were you like, you know what? I think I can work with this guy because I'm no longer in the business. Why should this be a conflict?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I'm there. And the first day that I'm there, they do this comprehensive health assessment. Everyone gets screened, their health, and that includes physical and mental health. They get screened so they know where you're at when you enter prison. And during that, I was in the examination room, and the chief psychologist walked in the room, and I recognized, and he recognized, and we had went to school together. We had went to graduate school together. And, he asked me the questions he needed to ask. And he was also kind of just asking me, what happened, not in depth questions about what happened since the last time I saw him. But so it was fairly brief. But at the end, he said that I need to let the warden know that I know you because it could be a conflict of interest. And 8 days later, I was transferred out of there. And I embarked on this just insane um, odyssey of transfer and experiencing several different prison facilities and the uniqueness of each, and then the overlap of all too as well. But it was insane.
That's
And yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I cut you off, Dr. Smith. Go ahead.
No, I was saying that, when you transfer is tough because you're part of the transfer is you can shackle. You have searches, which are humiliating, right? Dehumanizing. I mean, you're standing there naked. You got to present your body parts, and they go from one to the next, and so on. And they're, you're doing it out in the open, and you kind of feel like, you know, I mean, you, the way that you're treated throughout the whole system, you do feel somewhat like an animal, and so the shackling part, riding in a bus for hours and hours with other inmates. I was on Con Air. I was on smaller buses, so on. And a lot of times you're shoved into these holding cells and you're locked down. And my transfer took me from Duluth to eventually McKean, Pennsylvania. It took 13 months for them to transfer me from one facility to another. Now, it was during COVID, and of course, they had their lockdowns and they had their protection protocols during the trying to reduce the spread, protective measures, they call them.
Mm-hmm.
But, in that system there, it's one of the worst systems to be in if you have some disease or some sort of disease that spreads and you're in a prison system. There's no way. I mean, it just runs right through it.
Yeah.
There's nothing really you can do about it because you can't isolate all the people. And and you're under those conditions. Lockdown is one of the worst things. And I do have a little bit from the book that I wanted to read regarding lockdown when I was in the segregated housing unit, which is the SHU. And I can bring that up when you're ready for it.
Okay. You know
But
what? Why don't you read it now? Let's address the COVID pandemic for right now. Let's get into that. It's
okay.
As long as we're on it. Yeah.
So when I transferred, 8 days later, I entered prison on March 2nd, and I think it was March 10th or 11th when President Trump declared a national emergency because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when that happened, they ceased all facility to facility movement. So I happened to be in a holding cell, which is a SHU, which in the medium security SHU in Terre Haute, Indiana. So I'm there, and everything, the prison system's not ready for it. But you saw what happened out in the world too. Everybody was shut down, and everything was, there were businesses that were shut down. People couldn't move and so on. You were restricted, but especially so in prison. So you're locked down, and they're not ready for this. And so I'm in this cell. I've only been in prison for, 8-9 days or so. And I'm in a cell that's used to punish people, solitary confinement.
Right.
Which I believe is a cruel punishment. Solitary confinement is. And I experienced the effects, and I saw it on others and so on. So, but that solitary confinement is something that I experienced. And let's say solitary confinement and maximum security lockdown. Maximum security lockdown, you could be in a cell with somebody else, or maybe on a range, a small range. You're locked down, you can't do anything, you can't go anywhere, there's no rec, there's nothing. So you're there and you're just rotting, basically. And that occurred frequently. And when a human being is deprived, basically, of interaction with just all the things that we take for granted, just looking outside at a tree, for crying out loud, or picking up a phone and talking to somebody, or I didn't have, even for the first month or so, I didn't have access to a pen, paper, no books, no email, no phone or anything. So imagine sitting in a cell, and you're sitting there, and the cell is not very big, and you sit there for a whole day with nothing but your own thoughts. And then you have another day and another day, and then a week goes by. Okay, and then another week. You can imagine yourself getting stir crazy. Yeah. You can imagine yourself cracking up. And I want to read this real quick, if you don't mind.
Please.
So I'm in the SHU, and all right. All right, here's the book passage. I'm going to read a couple passages.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm in the cell right now. Okay. I turned around and took it all in. Roughly 90 square feet of concrete and metal, maybe 35 square feet of actual usable space. Upper and lower bunks, a small stainless steel toilet and sink combo, a filthy bacteria-ridden shower stall in the corner. The walls were off-white, cracked, chipped, covered with graffiti, crude poetry, Bible verses, gang tags, and cryptic symbols. The floor was layered with grime, food, feces, God knows what. The air reeked of mildew, mold, and old shit. The shower was worse. Mold climbed the walls and clung to the curtain in black and green streaks. I felt like I needed a hazmat suit just to breathe. The mattress on the bottom bunk was 3 inches of plastic wrapped foam. About 18 inches had been hacked off and stuffed into the top bunk to act as a pillow. I swapped them. Pillows weren't allowed, but I needed something. I walked to the narrow window, about 5 inches wide and maybe 3 feet tall, embedded in the far wall. Through the dirty pane, I could see barbed wire fencing, a patch of dirt, and little else. No sky, no freedom, just containment. Here's passage number 2. Mm-hmm. After 27 days, I experienced a moderate degree of indecisiveness and indifference. I had difficulty making choices, so I made no choice. I laid in the bunk, stared at the walls and ceiling, getting up for food trays and using the toilet. I had not showered in the past 7 days. My sleep-wake cycle became flipped. Awake all night, asleep during the day, then flipped again. But day and night did not matter anymore. When I was awake, I did nothing. I did nothing because there was nothing of value, no stimuli, internal or external, available or strong enough to prompt a decision. It was on the 29th day when I first became aware of experiencing transient perceptual distortions and illusions. I was hallucinating, okay? At first, I perceived sights and sounds that would normally evoke immediate and strong curiosity, but in my current state, that level of curiosity was lacking. In other words, I'm hearing and seeing things that are not there, but I'm not reacting to them at all because I'm just so depressed and out of it. For example, I saw insects crawling on the ceiling, legs moving, the bending of the long, thin body back and forth, surveying the area during travel. Then suddenly the insect disappeared for a second and reappeared at the very spot it began. I heard my name being called from somewhere outside the cell down the range walkway. I heard keychains clinking, as often occurs when a CO is walking or in motion. But there were no external sensational link to these perceptions. In other words, this was just coming into my mind. It wasn't provoked by anything that was going on in the environment. They were distortions of a disordered mind. So I'm starting to feel the effects of this confinement and this deprivation. And this was extreme because I didn't have anything. They gave me nothing. And I asked for it too multiple times. I didn't even know how to ask. Because when you're in there, you have 8 days. They have acronyms they use. They have their procedures and so on. I had no idea what I was doing in there.
Yeah.
They were saying, well, you gotta send out a kite. I don't know what the hell a kite is, or a cop out. They call it a cop out. And then eventually I learned that you take a piece of paper and you put it in the slit of the door, and when the guard comes by, they'll take it and they'll look at it, and they will decide whether they're going to do anything with it. We got to have a piece of paper and a pencil to do that, right? And I didn't have that, and so on. So I'm in that place, and not only was I disconnected from others by space due to incarceration, but I had become separated by species or kind. In other words, I was less than human. That's what I felt. I felt like I was slipping into something that was just, I was an animal. That chasm caused a loneliness beyond anything I had previously contemplated or experienced. I was unsure about myself, except I was certain I was no longer healthy. So a few passages out of the book regarding the experience of being locked down in solitary confinement. And you can imagine that was, what's that?
I was just going to say, Dr. Smith, and you want to know what chaps my ass is? There are people who were complaining about sitting at home during COVID and watching Netflix, and they got $1,400 for doing it.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people, very few people actually lost their job.
Yeah.
A lot of government employees kept receiving payment and so on.
Yeah. So did you get your $1,400 for suffering all that in silence?
No, they didn't. I do know that there were inmates. There was a ruling that inmates could receive it, a stimulus money or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
That $1,400 that everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think there were inmates that were applying for it. I never even bothered doing it. But I don't blame anybody who, if they can get a few extra bucks, put it on their commissary, for commissary, whatever. But,
right.
But yeah, so we're in there, and you don't have the conveniences that are out there. It's not supposed to be comfortable, but there's a point in which it becomes cruel.
Yeah.
And I believe the system in there, the culture, the milieu, everything about it, it strips away humanity. And what you find is you see people becoming less than. You become savage. Mm-hmm. And you live that environment, and you are treated like a dog. You're an animal. You're viewed as an animal. You're treated as one. And you, I believe, become one in ways where I'm, getting into fights, defending myself, things that I didn't normally do. So you become part of that environment where you're surviving. So,
yeah, and those were some of the most disturbing passages I think I've ever read. Again, people can call me a bleeding heart if they want. I guess I relate to it because my late stepfather did time, and then he came out and was reformed, reformed and cleaned up. There's a passage in the book. We'll talk towards the end of the program here about RDAF. But he was clean and sober for decades towards the end of his life, and completely reformed and changed his life. And so the book hits me kind of hard. It hits me where I live.
Right.
So there is such a thing as redemption and hope. And so that's why I encourage people to go out and get your book. And to
Yeah, and I would say that it's there is such a thing, and it is probably one of the more important things in life is to be able to redeem yourself from, and it doesn't have to be a crime. It could be just something that you did wrong, or maybe how you treated somebody, whatever. There's got to be. I think we have to allow that people to a chance to redeem themselves. It's a powerful thing,
yeah.
and we need to tell stories of it.
Now let's tell people now for that powerful bit that you just told us, sitting in during COVID. And we should mention to people that you did contract COVID. I want them to read about that experience in the book. But you did contract COVID while you were at Terre Haute. I believe it was Terre Haute, correct?
I did.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, I want people to realize that with everything that you're going through here during this time, where if we contracted it and I know I contracted it 3 times during the pandemic, yet I had access to the best healthcare here in Minnesota. So I got through it. It's not the same thing in the federal prison system. I'll let you read about it in the book. But I want to contrast that with this, and this is where I was going with this. Again, I'm kind of a little fractured here, Doctor. And again, I'm trying to think. I got myself off track here. I do that sometimes. But I want to contrast it with this. So we go from that to, okay, I was going to take you to what exactly you did to get all of these circumstances, being stuck in solitary confinement during COVID, the actual crime, which the actual crime did not fit your punishment, not at all. But although it was a serious crime, but it wasn't that serious, not in my opinion.
I believe it was serious.
Well,
I don't believe it wasn't a violent crime, but it was one that required, I think, some punishment. And it required, I think, that prison time was appropriate. I think the conditions of prison were harsh, rude, and cruel, especially during COVID. And when you read about my experience, you're like, this doesn't fit the crime. This is excessive.
Yeah.
For what the crime that you committed. And that was not necessarily, I mean, that's why society needs to know they need to understand what prison is. What is it really? And what are people being subjected to when they're in there? And, I think that's what you're referring to, that
Right.
My crime didn't match that kind of pain and suffering.
Your crime required restitution. It might have required apologies, but it and required some sort of balance, but it wasn't.
But I don't want to minimize it. And you're not minimizing it, but I don't want to minimize it. I think it's fraud is a shameful act, and it does harm people.
Yes, it does.
And there needs to be consequences, and you need to suffer those consequences, and there needs to be deterrence so you don't do it again. I'm not going back. I don't ever plan on committing, fraud again.
Right.
And I think the punishment just from the indictment to when I actually went in, that 20 months, there was so much punishment that occurred during that period of time. I don't think I would have ever committed the crime again anyways. I didn't need the prison sentence, just the shame and the loss of family and career and losing my license and everything that occurred before then was so painful and so difficult that, I was already scared straight, as they say. but I received the prison sentence because that's the legal punishment,
Mm-hmm.
and you go through it. So, but I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
No, you didn't interrupt me
yeah,
at all. I mean, I'm glad you set that straight, and I'm glad that you you put the exclamation point on that. That's what I'm
right,
glad you did. But I'm just stating my own opinion, and that's this. There's certain things that are redeemable and certain things that are irredeemable. And as we're getting towards the end of the program here, Doctor, honestly, I could spend 2 hours with you talking about this
yeah.
because your
This is fun. Yeah,
yeah, your
this is good.
experience is and there's good rhetoric here, and there's a lot of good stuff here. But honestly, the good stuff is in this book, and this is why I want people to read this book. Um, there's redeemable and there's irredeemable, right? Or there's non-redeemable. I shouldn't say, and there's that fine line, right? People will say child molesters. Uh, there's in serial sexual offenders. The ones that they say, and I want to ask you as a clinical psychologist, in your clinical opinion, are those the non-redeemables? Are those the ones that, you know what, it doesn't matter how much time we give them, it doesn't matter how long we lock them away? This is what I keep hearing from other clinicals and from other articles and from other sources. It doesn't matter how long you put them away, they're going to reoffend. So there's no treatment.
Yeah.
Where's
So
where's the line?
right. So let's look at, let's say somebody who commits child um, sexual abuse.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's just take that individual. All right. And if you look at that group, there are those that molest children that are prepubescent. They're not even developing yet. They're just children.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So that tends to be more pathological, deeper. And how do you sympathize with somebody like that? It's difficult. How do you even how does somebody, let's say in the helping profession, even want to have anything to do with that person? Okay. So it's difficult. So if we look at it, when we look at it a little deeper, we go, okay, this particular person is attracted to prepubescent children. They are physically attracted to that, and they can't control that. That's just something that it developed within them and so on. Now they can't act on it because that harms the children.
Right.
It does. But they have this impulse, and that impulse can be very strong. And obviously it can affect their thinking and obviously their behavior. So they end up being thrown in there. And so I don't think it's the equivalent of, let's say you have a person who's heterosexual and you say, okay, well, you can't be attracted to females anymore if you're a male. You
Mm-hmm.
got to be attracted to males. Well, that seems ridiculous.
Right. Right.
But I'm just using that as an analogy of what you're trying to do here with people. They have this thing that develops. Is there a way to get them to be attracted to only adults? You know what I mean? It's not that easy. You can imagine that it's very complex. And you're talking about some really deep stuff. So, however, in the prison system, they do have sexual offender programs, and they do have some facilities within the system that they send most of their sexual offenders to those. And they have to go through programming, and a lot of them it's required, or you're not going to get out.
Okay.
You got to go through it. But a lot of those people end up having, very long sentences. And you have people in there that they call the clickers and the touchers. The clickers are those who were looking at some material that involved children, which is against the law. You can't have possession of that. You can't, so on. So they get thrown in there, and they may get 15 years just for possessing. Okay, and then you have the touchers. Those that actually will touch or have sex with a child, and obviously they get long sentences. It's you get long sentences for sexual crimes, very
Mm-hmm.
long sentences.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to go through the programming, and is there some success? I think there's some evidence that they do show where people are able um, to successfully exercise impulse control. You know, um, and they move on. And I know a component of that is um, focusing on the harm that they cause to their victim. That kind of act, what would it cause?
Yeah.
And that can be a powerful component in terms of rehabilitation. Helping somebody to redeem themselves. Look at what you did to this child. Well, look at what the effects that this has on children later in life. You can affect their life. You can destroy them.
Right.
And so you got to come at it from different angles. But it is a very difficult thing. Is it redeemable? I have to say that modern medicine may not be completely there, but I think they're trying. I think we need to continue to try.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, we don't have any one program that I think is showing outstanding results, but I think that they are showing some success in terms of reducing uh, recidivism, people going back to those behaviors. So I think we should focus on it and do that. But you have society would have to say, hey, we want monies going into that. We want these people to be rehabilitated. We don't want them to reoffend, of course. When I don't think most of society wants it, they just want them to just do straight time. They want them to suffer.
Sure.
You harm a child, you should pay the price. And if that's for the rest of your life, then it is. And but the prison system and other people have to deal with the messes that's
Yes.
caused by it. They have to do something about it. So,
Right. Right.
and
Um,
that's where I lean. I think we should do something about it.
yeah. I do too. I think if I agree with you, if there's a way that modern medicine can figure out a way to cure the sociopath, if there's a way that we can find a way to cure the sexual offender, if there's a way that we can find a way to, or at least curb their impulses, um, because that's like saying, can you cure me of being heterosexual? No, you can't cure me from being heterosexual. But if there's a way to, if there's a way to treat the symptoms, then let's treat the symptoms, right? There's always that. Let me ask you this, doctor, as we're starting to wind down here today. And again, a fascinating discussion. I thank you so much for being on today. Um, in the book, what fascinated me most about your journey is you talk about as a child having that bit of that wild streak, wanting to be in nature, how nature had fascinated you, and having that bit of the savage beast beating within your breast, right? Um,
Yes,
and when you got to prison, it was a bit of a concrete jungle, and but
it
it
was.
it twisted you in a way. It was a twisted concrete jungle. It brought out more of a savage than I think you would have brought out in society. In society, it definitely there are social graces. You have to learn them. That wasn't necessarily your way. You point that out yourself, but you adapt to it. You learn it. Everybody has to learn it, right, in order to adapt to society. Those get thrown out the window when you go to
Can you
prison.
hear me? Okay.
What's that?
So
Oh,
it was slow a little bit there, but I think I got your question. Okay. So I would say that when I was up, I was kind of a free range raising. You know what I mean? They kind of, if you were around near the home, you were on your own, basically. It wasn't like um, the times were different. People felt more safe, I would say, in the communities than they do today. They don't let children just walk around on the streets. Um, but my parents would work and they'd come home and, we'd get fed and we go to school and so on. And our free time was just what we did. And that was, we lived in a rural area, and I grew up and it was it was nature. So you learn how to fish, hunt, you learn the ways of nature, the cycles and all that stuff. And there are certain things that you learn about life from nature, right? That there are certain laws of nature that don't ask your opinion. or for your consent. It just simply is, and you have to live within that. So that was my comfort when I thought about living out in society, when, from TV and looking at everything. Even as a child, I'm thinking, I really don't like it out there. I don't like what I'm seeing. It's not as good as what I have here. So, but I noticed that there is I call it the savage, because you're still kind of wild, and it does require that, I think, in prison, that you need to be savage to survive. You need to be a little wild. Civil society doesn't work in there. It doesn't. You won't survive in there. Just as I mentioned, the person who spends 15 years in the prison system becomes institutionalized and tries to make it out in society. It just doesn't work, because you've been reinforced. That environment is just what you become. So the opposite is true too. So when I look at the point where I was at indictment, I had success and I had a lot of things going on. Now, there was some personal stuff going on, but prior to that, it was all legitimate. Everything. I had money, I had success, reputation, all that stuff. So I went from that point in life all the way down to a prison cell floor. You can imagine that drop. And that drop was harsh, and it was painful and crippling. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's look at somebody who is from the inner city gangs. That step between where they're at and the floor of a prison cell is maybe simply one step. It's not that big of a fall, if it's a fall at all. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, and let's face it, the inner city, that kind of lifestyle is savage. It's wild. They have their own, they have what we call jungle code, and that dominates what's going on in the prison system. That kind of prisoner code, the jungle code, if you want to call it that. But it's wild, and you have to be a little wild to be able to survive in there. So I would say the wildness of coming out of the wilderness and the wildness of going into prison are not the same, but there's something about it that are familiar, where you're just, there, you have to be, the difference between, no, the similarity is that both are away from civilization, right? Me as a child, civilization's out there, it's away from me. When you're in prison, civilization's out there in the world. You're not in civilization. Basically, you're in something less than. And you have to survive.
With that,
to take on those. Yeah.
With that being said, do you feel like that experience of being somewhere between civilization and nature, in some sort of twisted version of what it was you were in, do you feel that's permanently changed your personality, the way who Dr. Paul Smith is?
You mean my youth? Did that form my personality today? Or are you talking about the prison experience itself?
The prison experience itself, has it changed who you fundamentally are?
I'm changed. I'm changed. I'm changed in ways. I wouldn't say profound and fundamentally changed, but I'm changed in ways. I look at the human condition differently. I even interact with human beings differently. I don't like being in a room with my back to a door. I don't want anybody standing next to me. Anybody that comes up to me fast, I can't. I want to see their hands. I want to see what's going on. I won't let them come. I will shout and say, "Stop! You come forward. I'll consider it a threat, and I will defend myself." So there's that protective thing, and I have to say that I have communicated that to my children too. Don't turn your back. I tell them this: don't turn your back on a wild animal.
Wow.
Because you could regret it, right? So, and whether that's somebody in society that's wild and savage, whatever, don't turn back on it. because there are dangers there. So there are dangers there that I saw in the past, but more so now, that I'm protective of. I think that, when you look at the news and all the stuff that's going on, it really does make your head spin about the violence. And you have to say that civilization itself sure didn't solve the violence problem, did it?
No.
I mean, we have through thousands and thousands of years, can we say that we're less violent than we were 100 years ago? You can't say that, can you?
No.
So I think the prison system just, made me hyper aware of the unsafety, the issues in society and life that you need to be ready for, just in case.
One last one, Dr. Smith, before I let you go, and that is, having lived on that side of the fence, so to speak, when you see people have a Pollyanna attitude about, give peace a chance, it's all about love, we need to be one in a community. Do you feel that's a realistic goal?
Well, I look at human nature. So Sigmund Freud wrote a book called Civilization and Its Discontents. He wrote it in 1930. He wrote it after he had witnessed World War I. He said that there is something about human beings, that there's a violence there. There's something that is just part of our makeup. A world at war. This is a universal quality that human beings have. And in that book, he talks about, you have the rules of society and you have this biological animal, human being. And there will always be, in his view, ongoing conflicts between those two, between the biological animal and the social being. And I think that, you go to certain parts of the world, if you think that, love is all you need, you go to certain parts of the world, I think that will change. You'll see things that, people don't care about it. Wars are started, people will get murdered, shot, whatever, for ideas that they don't like, or some perception that these people are trying to change their life or freedom, take away their freedoms or whatever. And there are a lot of examples of human beings are just savagely violent towards one another. So you have to look at that realistically. It is part of the human condition. You can't ignore it. You got to look at it, and only then I think you're going to be able to deal with it, is to admit that it occurs.
Very true.
And that is part of our nature. So
very true. Very true. Well, the book is a fascinating one, Dr. Smith. And I believe any at-risk youth, any youth in trouble should pick up a copy. It should be put in front of them. They should be reading it and realize that there's a dark road ahead, and it can still change. You can still put a different path in front of you. And you can definitely, everybody's redeemable. Everybody has a chance. And everybody can pull themselves up by their bootstraps, so to speak, and take a different path. The name of the book is Cruel and Unusual Punishment, a memoir of the psychological realities of federal prison. Dr. Paul Smith, I want to thank you so much for such a great conversation today.
Thank you. I enjoyed it immensely.
I did as well. Folks, we're going to lighten things up a little bit. It's time now for us to bring in Jessica Freeberg, and it's time now for Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals.
It's Crayon News story time.
What happened with this dude, Christ Bearer? I heard he cut his penis off and then jumped off a balcony.
Suspect pulls gun from butt, shoots twice at Denver police.
What is your emergency?
I need help.
And what's the problem?
I'm too high.
You're too high?
Yeah.
It's that time again, the time you've all been looking forward to. It's time now for Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals. And with that, we need a co-hostess. So in order to soothe my battered ego from the weekend and everything that happened with the Vikings game. I did have a really good weekend, so we'll cap that tomorrow in Supernatural News because we got to go. We've got so much to cover here in Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals. Let's just say she's intelligent, she's witty, she brings the funny, and the people at the Hindustan Times have said, please, no more. Not a fifth book. Because you've got 4 in the chart already. We can't take a 5th. And I assured them, listen, Mr. Hindustan Times, he's the actual man who runs the Hindustan Times charts. Mr. Hindustan Times, there won't be a 5th this year. I don't know if it's true or not, but you can rest easy. You can lay down your burdens, your troubles. Just wait till next year. Then all 4 will come out at the same time. Then you can fire up your presses and get ready to have her dominate your charts. Ladies and gentlemen, here she is, Jessica Freeberg. Hi, Jess.
Hey, happy new week.
Well, happy new week to you too.
Even though we're sad about the Vikings, we're going to be happy anyway.
Did you hear the latest now? Today, as we're sitting down and recording, there's no JJ McCarthy next week.
Oh no, I didn't hear that.
Sprained ankle.
Darn it.
Because that Swiss cheese of a line couldn't protect him.
Oh.
Isn't that fun?
No, it's not.
So now we got Carson Wentz, who hasn't been able to stay healthy in his entire career, who's going to sit back there behind Swiss cheese of a line. Ladies and gentlemen, Max Brosmer has entered the chat. I'm going to guarantee you, you don't need to be psychic to know that our University of Minnesota quarterback will be playing, I bet you, by the second half.
Yeah.
On Sunday. So
I bet you're right. That'll be exciting for him, though.
I'm looking forward to it. I like Max.
Yeah.
Quarterback. So,
I love it when we get to see new players out there. I mean, you love to see the old ones who are going to do well, but it is fun to see some other people get some time.
I'm just going to say it right now. Rookie of the year, Max Brosmer.
Yes.
And people are going to say, you know what, Tim? It's time for you to go to drug rehab. I don't know what you're on, but it's time for rehab. So,
well, I'm agreeing with you. So let's go to rehab together.
Do
they give us 3 square meals a day there?
Yes, they will. And you know what?
Man.
I hear the beds are comfy.
That's all I need. Food and bed.
So are the padded walls. They're pretty comfy too. Mm-hmm. So, when you bounce off them, they're pretty neat.
Can you imagine the joy of just like being locked away in a padded room just for a few days? I think it would be amazing.
Oh, serenity now. I need that so badly.
Yeah. Every time I would go to the hospital and have a baby, they'd be like, you can stay an extra day or you can go home. And I'm like, I'll stay the extra day.
Yeah. Can I take the day? Yeah. I could use it. I'll take the day.
Yeah. I had kidney stones after I had my last child and I was in the pediatric hospital wing and they were so nice to me. I was there for like a week and I'm like, this is amazing. I want kidney stones all the time.
When I was down at they make a mean omelet down at Southdale.
Yeah.
Southdale Hospital. So I would say, they would say, well, we, thinking about discharging you, we could do it right away in the morning. I go, no. After lunch. Yeah, it's fine. I just want one more omelet.
Yeah. I don't even need good food. I just need to be the one who's not making it. That brings me joy.
Yeah, right.
Give me a Jello bowl. I don't care as long as I don't have to cook.
A Jello bowl. Carrots or fruit? Which one would you like in it?
Oh, definitely fruit. Definitely, kind of the questionable looking grapes that are kind of green, but not.
Peeled or unpeeled for your grapes and your Jello?
Peeled, please.
Okay.
Because they're creepier that way. They look like eyeballs.
They do, don't they? They're weird. It's a great Halloween dessert, by the way. Peeled grapes and blood red Jello.
Yes.
Yeah. I know. God, it's time to start thinking about that already.
I'm ready.
Well, with that,
I even have my ghost t-shirt on. I showed you earlier.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
My boobs.
Oops. With a K, kids. With a K. With a K.
It is written across my boobs, but it is books.
That's right. It is books. That's right. Do we dare talk about the message you got? Speaking of,
gosh, you guys, I was dying because the timing was hilarious. One, we had just talked about last week doing feet pictures, and then some dude on Instagram, no, not Instagram, TikTok, sent me a message asking for foot pictures, and he'd pay me $300 twice a week.
Hey, that's $600, sister.
I'm like, let's go. But my toes were hairy. Are we okay with that?
He's got to be. It's not up to him, right?
I mean, they're light hair. I have blonde hair on my toes. You can't even notice it.
There you go.
Unless you're into that thing, and I'll make it darker if you want.
Again, not his choice, Jess. He's the one who solicited you. He's got to, you know what? For the 6 large per week, he's got to take what he gets.
You know, it's hilarious though. I saw it and I was laughing so hard, and I took a screenshot and I went to my kids and I'm like, what is happening here? My daughters are like, oh, we get those all the time. I'm like, perverts are sending you these messages. I will kill them.
You know, I don't know what's more telling, the fact that the daughters are like, oh, yeah, it's no big deal, or the fact that our friends and audience said to you, hey, I'll take it if you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then my daughter Ella tried to talk me out of sharing it because she was kind of like, well, Mom, it's just weird. You don't need to share that. I'm like, but people are gonna laugh so hard.
Oh, yeah.
I can't keep this funny thing to myself. It has to be shared.
Right. Share it with the world. Yeah. And then
It's to everyone to share this. It's too funny.
then people are like, well, inflation, times are hard. You really shouldn't turn that down. And I was like, oh,
I mean, I got 2 kids in college, so I'm not gonna lie. I thought about it for a minute.
but here's the thing. A little bit of friendly advice, get the money first, because they can always scam you out of the pics and never gonna send you the money. So,
That's true. You
Yeah.
probably can't take them to small claims court for such a thing.
No, because the judge is never sympathetic on that deal.
Your Honor, I sent him pictures of my toes. It was a verbal agreement.
And then he goes, hairy toes or non-hairy? And how noticeable is it? So,
Pretty hairy.
oh, Jess. See,
Oh, good times.
there's always business opportunities through Darkness Radio. Just saying.
There really are. The timing. I mean, how ironic. We were just talking about that. I'm like, someone messing with me. Oh,
Now, if it was just $300 once a week, yeah, they're messing with you. But twice a week, that's not messing. That's an honest to God business opportunity.
that's freaking gold, man.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you break that down. Jess, think about that. That's, what is that, 30,000 a year? I mean, that's a little more.
Not a bad part-time gig.
Really? I mean, come on. It's $2,400 a month.
Well, I feel like I could do it when I'm doing other things. Like, it's not even that much of a commitment. I could be sitting here writing a book and be like, oh, snap a picture. Oh,
This is my feet writing a book. This is my feet about to get in the bath.
oh,
This is my feet with my toes in the sand. I mean, get creative with it.
these are my toes after I shave them.
Click. Whoops, I nicked one. Oh, look, blood play. That's extra. That's $50 more.
Yeah.
I mean, get creative with it.
Yeah. There
Yeah.
are some interesting people in the world, but it takes all kinds. So,
It does. It does. Fun stuff, I tell you. Fun stuff.
yeah.
Yeah. I just thought that was, oh boy. It was funny. It's really funny.
It was wonderful.
Speaking of funny, boy, do we have funny stories today. I mean, we have some that are somewhat serious, but we have a lot of funny stories today. I don't know if you heard about this cruise ship passenger who jumped off the ship to avoid paying
No.
gambling debts.
What?
That's our first story. Yeah.
Oh, this is great.
I saw this. I'm a big fan of taking my 2:00 lunch hour and watching. Yes, I know I take a late lunch, and then watching TMZ. I'm kind of a TMZ head. I would love to have Harvey Levin on the show just because, former lawyer and being able to talk some true crime stuff with him. And, he was at one point, he was a correspondent for the People's Court. So just to be.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's met.
He would be interesting.
He would be just to sit and, chew the fat with him. So they report on this story. And I thought, my God, and they kind of built up a little bit of a scenario about this guy who actually did this. And they think he might've had a little bit of an alternative motive other than the fact that he owed the ship $16,000 that he had racked up in a gambling debt while on the cruise, because supposedly he had other things in his room, which we'll get to here in a second. A man was arrested and charged with a federal crime last weekend after allegedly leaping off a Royal Caribbean cruise ship near Puerto Rico and all to avoid paying off more than $16,000 in a gambling debt to the cruise line. Jay Gonzalez Diaz jumped into the water near the port of San Juan at around 9:15 a.m. on Sunday after the ship's return voyage from Barbados. Now, there's a little bit more to the story here. And of course, my iPad, which is very reliable and very old, is taking its time populating. So I'll tell you a little bit about the story as I go to do the old reboot here. So the way this works is the staff had gotten word that this man had jumped overboard, and it was not in like the deepest water. So they were a little concerned, and they went to fish this guy out. Well, they thought it was weird because he hadn't written a note, or he hadn't told people that he was despondent, right? So they thought,
Yeah.
well, what's going on with this guy? So, he's kind of, he's a little discombobulated, but they try to get it out of him as to, what's going on with them. It comes out that he's got a bit of a debt with the ship that he's been gambling, right? Well, they find out that he's racked up $16,000 in debt down at the casino.
Dude, that's like half a year of toe picks. That's a lot.
At first, I thought you said topaz. I'm like, toe picks. Yeah, that is. That's, of course, it's half a years of toe picks. But see, now here, I want to bring it back to you here for a second here, Jess. I want you to think about this for a minute. If you were to take this opportunity, think about the fact that you could go on a cruise and gamble away that money just like that in one weekend. Boom. You'd have $16,000 to go, on a cruise.
That would be nice.
And just, gamble to your little heart's desire. Maybe even a couple cruise picks for Mr. Toe Fetish.
Yes. My toes at the blackjack table.
Yeah. See? Huh?
Yes.
My toes enjoying the sun in Puerto Vallarta, Puerto Rico, wherever you are.
I'm sorry. I did not mean to bring it back to my toes.
No, it's funny, right? I mean, yeah.
But yes, that is a lot of dough. So I'm not sure I could bring myself though to jump off the side of a ship though. That's freaking high up there.
My toes going over the deck when I owe 16 grand for
Action shot.
Yeah. I mean that'd be kind of funny, right? So the cruise ship, which was the Rhapsody of the Seas, departed San Juan on August 31st. Officers with CBP later located Gonzalez Diaz near the Puerto Rico Capitol building, the complaint said. When he was found, he was carrying $14,600 in cash, 2 phones, and 5 IDs. So he had the cash on him. He could pay his debt. This is what
want to?
Yeah, they think maybe he was either drug running or money laundering. There was a bigger crime here. He was accused of attempting to avoid monetary reporting requirements when traveling into the U.S. This, according to the complaint viewed by CBS. Royal Caribbean told investigators that Gonzalez Diaz had booked his cruise ticket under the name Jeremy Diaz and that he owed $16,710.24, almost exclusively associated to casino and gaming expenses, according to authorities. The Daily Express U.S. had contacted Royal Caribbean for additional information. It is possible that Gonzalez Diaz could face a fine up to, get this, just $250,000 or a maximum 5-year prison sentence for his shenanigans.
Dude, he should have just paid the money.
Right. All he had to do is pay the 16 grand in gambling debts. Which tells me that money was earmarked for something else.
Right.
And
he needed it.
Yeah. He spent it on something he shouldn't have been. Interesting, huh?
That's wild.
That is wild. Yeah, indeed. All right. So our next story sent to us by one of our listeners. Again, if you have a story for us here on Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals, you can send it to me, tim@darknessradio.com. This one, I don't know if it's funny or if it's just alarming. I think it's more alarming than funny. A woman is accused of hitting her boyfriend in the head with a hatchet while he was sleeping. I think things are over in that relationship, Jess.
I would say there's no good coming back from that.
And by the way, her booking photo, incredibly happy for being just caught for hitting her boyfriend in the head with a hatchet.
Oh, she looks kind of adorable.
She is. She's just a sprightly little young lady, just
Yeah,
happy to be there.
I would never expect her to do such a thing.
Oh no, but she wound up and boom, you know.
That's
By the way,
very like 19th century of her, very Lizzie Borden-esque.
it is, isn't it? Now I want you to think about that for a second.
Okay.
Where do you think this sprightly young lady is from?
No way. She from the same area?
No.
Okay. Is she from Villisca, Iowa?
Oh, you're close. She,
Really?
not Villisca, Iowa. You just got to go a little bit north, a little bit north, a little bit west.
Nebraska?
Not quite. Fargo, North Dakota.
Oh,
She's
Fargo.
from wood chipper country.
That works too.
Yep. A woman in North Dakota has been charged with attempted murder after allegedly hitting her boyfriend with a hatchet while he slept. Court documents obtained by KVLY detail the events on September 5th that led to Lena DeOliveira's arrest. Lena. Yeah. Now that there is a North Dakota name, isn't it?
I would say.
Lena DeOliveira. Yeah.
Her folks weren't playing around when they named her.
That's a mixed heritage, boy. Lena DeOliveira. Yeah, that's a mixed.
That's quite the last name. It's so long.
Yeah, that's what we call a mixed heritage marriage in North Dakota. According to the documents, police were called to the 700 block of 14th Street North at 5:30 a.m. after a man claimed to have been assaulted with a weapon. When they arrived on scene, the victim told officers he was alone and had been attacked without warning. He was then taken to the emergency room for treatment. Police later talked to another man who was at the scene, who said the victim had been attacked by his girlfriend, later identified as it could be Dio or Deo Oliveira. I think it's probably Deo Oliveira. Yeah. Again, it's one of those crazy mixed arrangements there in North Dakota. And there's not a lot of spice there in the left in North Dakota. I'm just saying it's pretty ethnically milk. Let's just put it that way in North Dakota, right? He told police that when he woke up to the screaming, you heard that right. When he woke up to the screaming, he saw De Oliveira swing down with a hatchet. According to the court documents, the man said he couldn't see what she hit, but heard a sound like splitting wood.
Oh, that was his head. That's so bad. And she was screaming while she was doing it. That's like a horror movie.
Yeah, she might be slightly unbalanced. But you saw the smile. I mean, she was happy while doing it. Whistle while you work, right? Mm-hmm.
That smile looks a little unbalanced, honestly.
A little bit, yeah. The man told police he suspected De Oliveira was out of it, but came to after hearing the click from the couch's footrest and seeing the blood. He said she then fled the scene. Officers located a blood trail coming from an attached garage where the man said he was staying along with the victim and De Oliveira. Two of the victim's fingers were missing and kind of hanging, according to the man.
No.
Defensive position.
Oh, my goodness.
He went to block it, I guess. The victim had to have surgery on his fingers at the emergency room, and officers were shown pictures of the man's head with a large slice in it. Another photo showed deep lacerations to his fingers. De Oliveira was arrested in Moorhead, Minnesota on September 7th, just over the border, just a hop, skip, and a jump. Yeah. Suppose she was over there for the boat show? Officers were shown pictures of the man's head with a large slice in it. Yeah. Okay, I read that. I just had to say that twice. She requested an attorney when she was caught when officers attempted to interview her. No information or statements from De Oliveira were noted in the report. The other man, who was on scene at the time of the attack, provided more details to investigators later. De Oliveira appeared in Cass County Court on September 12th. She is charged with attempted murder and aggravated assault. Her next court date is set for October 16th. And when that court date comes up, we will let you know more about her and how this whole thing turns out. I mean, my God, hitting the head with an axe. That is no easy day at the office. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's wild. Where does one even get an axe? I don't have an axe just sitting around my house.
You don't have one for splitting wood? You don't have a wood burning stove there at the old abode?
No, I don't. And maybe that's why. Maybe they have a wood burner. I just have gas. I'm boring. So easy. Just flip a switch and you're warm.
Yeah, boom, and then the house. A lot of houses up there on the prairie, where Laura Ingalls Wilder lives. Probably
up north, yeah.
Probably have a wood burner still. But yeah, that's probably why they have the axe. Either that, or she's killed a lot of boyfriends and has one handy. So Do
you remember that Mike Myers movie, So I Married an Axe Murderer?
Yes, yeah.
That was one of my favorites. It was so good.
Maybe that was her inspiration. She loved the movie.
Could have been.
Had to have her own axe. You never know. You just never know.
You remember that scene where he throws himself on top of his girlfriend? And he's like, I'm a human blanket. I'm a human blanket.
Yes.
I still do that to my husband.
Have you... You must love it.
Oh, I don't know.
You don't know.
You're just so weird.
Have you seen how much Mike Myers has aged?
Oh, yeah. It was like 30 years ago, that movie.
Oh, don't put it that way, Jess. Come on.
No, I mean, think about it. I remember watching it like in college. So, yeah.
He was on this last season of SNL. He played Elon Musk.
Yeah. He looks great as Elon Musk. Like,
he does, but they showed him without the hair dye. His hair is white.
Wow.
He has white hair. And I mean, you could tell like life has not been kind to him. It's just, it kind of hit him upside the head with an axe. Let's face it. It really has. We all like to think we're aging gracefully, but I think Mike Myers knows he hasn't. He has to know that. Him and John.
Yeah, but he's funny. He's funny, so it doesn't even matter.
That's true. That's true. But him and John Lovitz, two people who have not aged gracefully. All right. Our next story has to do with a man who was caught red-handed after removing a piece of hardware from a plane. This one sent to us as well from one of our listeners. Again, we appreciate it. Tim@darknessradio.com. Keep them coming, folks. The suspect was apprehended in front of his boss.
Uh-oh.
I want you to imagine, Jess, you go on a trip with your boss. You probably have before, but I'm just saying that you go on a trip with your boss and you decide you're going to take a piece of the plane with you as a souvenir.
Yeah, just a little something to remember the trip by.
A little something to remember. Collecting souvenirs is part of the travel experience. However, it's wise to purchase them instead of simply helping yourself to whatever shiny thing catches your eye. It turns out a United passenger, if you've ever flown United, first of all, worst airline on the planet, but I don't think they'd notice if you took part of their hardware anyways off the plane. Half the time it's malfunctioning. But a United passenger found out this the hard way when he helped himself to a piece of the plane, and he's still paying the consequences. Recently released footage from police body cams opens on a jet bridge in Idaho Falls, as police ask the flight crew what's going on. A flight attendant explains that the situation unfolded when a passenger asked for a drink after moving himself to an empty seat in the exit row. Unfortunately, she had to decline his request because he didn't have a card on file. At some point, the man moved, and the passenger next to him informed the flight attendant that he'd seen the man messing with the hook attached to the emergency exit door. At this point, the flight attendant noted that the piece of equipment was missing. So the guy took the hook that's hooked up to the emergency exit door.
What a weird thing to take.
Oh, that's just bizarre. The officer asks her to show her what the equipment looks like because I have no idea what I'm looking for, and follows her onto the plane. She shows him a small metal part attached to another emergency exit door. The officer refers to it as a carboner. It's one of these. You know, you see it on people's keychains all the time.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what that's called. So whatever you call it works for me.
Yeah, I forget what it's called.
Carbonaire. It sounds very fancy that way.
it's carbonara. Yeah, it's a noodle. Next, the flight attendant. Someone's going to correct me by email, I'm sure. Carboner. Yeah, a carabiner.
Carboner. I think it's a carboner.
Carabiner? I don't know. Carabiner. I know the correct pronunciation, folks. I just got done with a really cool interview and I have no idea how to pronounce it and I don't care. So keep that in mind when you email me. Tim, it's pronounced this. You know, I could go to Google and figure it out. I mean, you want me to do that? I could go to.
I just like it when you just say words the way you say them and we just roll with it.
Just roll with it. So I shouldn't go like this and go pronounce.
In fact, I think that you once told me when I was nervous to talk about something on Darkness Radio back in the radio days.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I was reading the news or something and I'm like, I can't say half these words. And you were like, just say it with confidence.
Oh, yeah.
And no one will know you're saying it wrong.
Yeah. Just say it with confidence. Yeah.
We carried that through my whole life. I just say things with confidence and no one questions it.
Carabiner.
Carabiner.
Yeah, carabiner. So there, you don't have to email me. Carabiner. Carabiner. Yeah, I'll say carabiner just to piss you guys off. Carabiner.
Tomato.
Yeah, we know it's carabiner, but it's a carabiner. Or carabiner. There you go. How about carabiner? Just to piss you off even more. Carabiner. I'll say that throughout the rest of the article. A flight attendant explained the situation unfolded when a passenger. Oh, I already read that part, so we won't go back over that. The officer then went looking for the carabiner. There, I said it. Next, the flight attendant takes the officer to the door in question, pointing out the carabiner is missing. See, Jess, see what I did there? The part may be small, but the flight attendant informed the officer that the plane still has to have it. It's an essential part. Otherwise, the emergency door could go flying open. The officer expresses some concern about searching the passenger's bags and violating his civil rights. He asked the flight attendant if she's sure that it was there before the flight. So in other words, I don't want to have to go through this guy's bags because, if it's not there, I'm going to look foolish. We're open to lawsuits, all this other stuff. Then he asks if they can provide him with the names of the passengers. A flight attendant displays passenger information on a phone, pointing out the gentleman we believe took it. She also pulls up the information for the witness. The officer takes screenshots of both with his device. Armed with this information, the officer approaches a gate agent sitting in front of a computer to ask for information about the passengers. She replies that she isn't sure she's allowed to accommodate the request. The officer seems almost amused as he states, "It's your crime." And he adds, "If you guys don't want my help, it's okay. Sorry, guys, you're going to be delayed." So the officer's having a little bit of fun with this, right? We're looking for a carabiner. No biggie. I don't care. A few minutes later, the officer manages to find the witness who says the suspect was intoxicated, banging on the window and verbally threatening the safety of his fellow passengers. The officer approaches the suspect in front of the baggage carousel and asks for his ID. The suspect replies that it's out in his truck. Oh, God. How did you get into the airline I'm
going to say, there's no way.
Yeah. The officer follows the suspect to a white company pickup truck where a supervisor is waiting to pick him up. Oh, this had to be embarrassing. When the door opens, the officer explains the situation to the foreman, stating he took something off the plane that he wasn't supposed to take. He further explains that he needs to retrieve it so the plane can leave, not leaves. That's plural. The police officer asks then for the carabiner. The suspect replies, "What's a carabiner?" See what I did there? The police officer says it's the part he took from the emergency door, but the suspect repeatedly denied taking it. The officer informs him that this is a federal offense. We're getting serious now. The suspect puts his bags on the sidewalk and gives a consent for a search. So go ahead and look. First, the officer demands that the suspect empty his pockets. He complies. And sure enough, that carabiner is right there inside his pockets. You didn't have to go into the bags. Look at that, the officer says. There it is. The suspect finds the carabiner right there and says to the officer, who calls him a frickin' thief, and orders him to stay put. I think the officer was mad at that point because he could have just handed him the carabiner.
Yeah. Really dragging this out over this little tiny clip.
Yeah, that he did. So essentially, they're saying it got worse. The situation got worse because the officer. I'm trying to summarize this. It goes on and on and on. I don't want to get into this, that, and the other. He went to file charges and made referrals to the FAA and the Department of Homeland Security over this little tiny clip. The officer walked back into the airport, returned the missing piece to the flight crew. While the officer was inside the airport, the suspect strolled back in. He seemed irritated that this was taking so long and complained about waiting. He wanted to take off with his boss. He's like, okay, just take the part and go. I got to go.
Right.
The officer says that if he raises his voice again, he's going to be put in handcuffs. The suspect responds by approaching the officer in a threatening manner. So he didn't, he's been squealing. He's been having a few drinks.
Wow, he really is stupid.
Yeah, he is. He's incredibly dumb. The officer tells the suspect to put his hands behind his back. He refuses and backs away. And the officer then pepper sprays him. He gets it right in the snout. Oh. As the officer places the suspect in cuffs, he informs him that he now has earned a second-degree felony charge. They walk outside where the suspect rushes the officer again, despite being handcuffed. So he comes, he's like, come at me, dude. Right. Two more officers arrive on the scene and help restrain the suspect. Suspect is told he's under arrest, stealing from an airplane, resisting arrest, and battery. According to View from the Wing, he received probation until the year 2031 for the state charges.
Dang.
Coming after the officer. He hasn't had charges yet for the federal crime of just taking the carabiner. You like I keep twisting the word around?
I do. It's my favorite.
Yeah. He'll get that later. But there you go.
That's a perfect story for our segment because it is just one dumb decision after another.
Yeah. All because he had to have a few drinky poos on the plane and get mischievous. Probably needed a clip for his keychain was all it was. Or it helped him at work, one or the other.
Well, someone give me that man's address. I'll send him a whole bucket full of carabiners.
Carabiners?
Yeah. In his mail.
Exactly.
I'm sure they're pretty cheap on Amazon.
They gotta be. Couple bucks, maybe $5-10 at the most. Maybe.
He hated himself when he came to from his drunkenness. He hated himself so much. Like, what have I done?
Can you imagine probation until 2031 all because you're an asshole?
Yeah. It's so weird to me, like when people drink and they get violent like that.
Yeah.
I just laugh more.
It's pretty funny.
I want to hug everyone.
This one, okay, so this is my major pet peeve in Minnesota. I have no other pet peeve that's higher on my list than left lane speed czar lane sitters who, and they're the worst when they get in the left lane. This is my complaint every Friday when I go to the doctor, pre-rush hour, 1:30 in the afternoon. The left lane should be as free as possible. Your job as a citizen is not to make sure everybody goes 5 miles under the speed limit in the left fucking lane. Okay. Get over the lane and cruise and do your thing. Let people pass on the left. And if they're coming up behind you on the left, get over in the right lane. It's the law. It's the state law now that you're not to impede traffic on the left. It's the state law.
Yeah, you good citizens arrest them.
That's right. But people don't realize that. They flip you off, they hit their brake, they try to get you to hit their back end because they're assholes, right? So, with that in mind, Jess, I present our next story.
Okay.
A motorist arrested in connection with an ambulance road rage incident. Yes, this asshole took it one step too far with an ambulance.
Oh my goodness.
By the way, I got the shit scared out of me by a state patrol officer this weekend coming up in the left lane behind me. I thought he was coming to bust me.
Oh no, because you were flying too fast.
Well, I wasn't. That's the thing. I wasn't going too fast. I mean,
Yeah.
I was going about 7 over in the left lane, but he
That's fair.
came out of nowhere, like, vroom, like right on me, and I got over
Yeah.
like right away. I mean, like I thought he was coming to bust me, so I got over on the left hand side, but he
Yeah.
zoomed right past me. I have not had a. I'm trying to think. I don't think I've had a speeding ticket in 35 years.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah. So I was like, like I almost had a legit heart attack, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, huh? Right? But he just went right past me. And I don't know where he went because he stayed in front of me for the next 10 miles. He was following somebody.
Hmm.
He was on somebody's plates and he was trying to follow somebody, but he was just trying to get me out of the way, man. Boy, did he succeed. Because I think I pissed myself officially. Yeah.
Just a little.
Yeah, just a little bit of pee came out when he came out. I was like, "Ah!" That's exactly how it happened. It was very cartoon violence like. Okay, back to our story. I don't know how to pronounce the name of this town, but is it Wawayanda? I don't know. It's another
Spell
town.
it.
Wawayanda. That's what it is.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, Wawayanda. Okay. State police have arrested a Middletown man in a road rage incident involving an ambulance that was responding to an emergency call. Troopers said that on Wednesday, September 10th, just after 11:30 a.m., a town of Wawayanda ambulance was traveling on County Route 78 near High Barney Road in the town of Wallkill. The paramedic driving the ambulance was en route to a call with his emergency lights on, and while doing so, legally passed a 2001 Chrysler. So legally, boom, goes past the Chrysler, right? The driver of that car, identified as 47-year-old Terrell Osborne, followed the ambulance, driving recklessly and at a high rate of speed. So evidently he had his manhood threatened, Jess, because the ambulance had to get somewhere. So
Right.
You can't speed faster than me. I can speed faster than you, buddy. Here I come.
People are so angry and weird lately.
I know. People are so bizarre. Osborne is accused of pulling alongside the ambulance, illegally passing it, and then pulling in front of it in an attempt to stop it. So he went around the ambulance, got in front of it, and started hitting the brakes. An ambulance that's on its way to a call.
It's crazy.
Huh?
Put that guy in jail.
I hope so. Throw the key away, right? Police said those actions obstructed the paramedic from continuing to respond to the emergency call. As a result, he was arrested and charged with obstructing medical services, reckless driving, and several violations of state vehicle and traffic laws. Again, folks, don't be stupid. If it's anybody in the left lane, I don't care if it's medical services, someone who's speeding in the left lane, it's not your responsibility to slow people down. I want you to think of this. Somebody could be having a medical emergency. Somebody could have a severed finger. Somebody could have they could be having a heart attack. They could be having a blood sugar episode. They could be having something where they need to get to emergency services right away. And you're the asshole that's going to stop them because you've decided you want to be the speed czar that day.
What did they get out of it? It's just such a strange power trippy thing to do.
I'm the guardian of justice and you're going to do 53 and a 55. Oh, fuck you.
You're going too fast, young man.
Yeah, get the fuck over. I mean, God, there's a reason why there's road rage, and you're it. You're the guy.
Right.
You're the guy.
Well, it's that in the zipper lane. I hate that people don't use the zipper lane in Minnesota and they get so
Yeah.
mad at you if you use it. And it's legal. It's literally like
Yes.
that's what it's there for.
Yeah, zipper merge. It takes 2 seconds. Just let somebody
Like,
in, right?
everyone should be using the zipper, and then we would be going so much faster.
Right. Just be nice. Just let somebody in. It costs you 2 seconds.
Nope. In Minnesota, we all have to get in the other lane and leave that whole zipper lane empty.
Oh,
It's the weirdest thing.
people get to be such assholes on the road. I don't know what it is.
Oh, yeah.
All common sense leaves them. Common sense and courtesy, it leaves their heads. They're just like, me. And then like, I gotta go.
Yeah, it's really hard when you've got a kid who's driving and people drive like that and like right up on you on your bumper when you clearly I have a sticker in the back of my car that says student driver, please be patient or whatever. And people still drive like jerks around her. And I'm like,
yeah, they don't care.
She looks 12. She's tiny. Get
Yeah.
off our butt. Like,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
mama bear in me. She gets mad.
I had this weekend, I was hanging out with the boys from Extreme Pro Wrestling Radio, a podcast that we had back at iHeartRadio.
Mm-hmm.
And Wayne D is in town from Nashville, and he's known as Big D on KDWB. And he drove his son and I to the Twins game, and we were going from the western suburbs of Minneapolis into downtown, and just that strip of 394. He was like, dude, I can't believe how badly people drive here. He goes, it's bad down in Nashville. It's bad, but not like this. He's like, people are just stupid here now. And, he's only been gone 10 years. And he's lived in Vegas. He's lived in Nashville. He's lived in different areas since he's been here. But he's like, your traffic issue is just stupid here. He's like,
it's weird. And it's like people are just angry though. I mean, that's what it seems like. People are just angry, and that's just a place for them to like let out some anger in such a weird way to strangers. I don't get it.
Yeah, people are getting less and less considerate every day. That's for sure.
Not me. I'm going to get more considerate and nicer every day, Tim.
Oh, thank you, Jess. I appreciate that. I try to. There's days where people piss me off. And that's when I bring a bazooka and I blow up their car. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm joking.
That's when you pull out your axe.
That's when I pull out my axe and I split their head. No, I'm kidding. I don't do that either.
Chop off 2 of their fingers.
Yeah, I chop off their fingers. And then say, drive with that hand. Ha! No, I'm kidding. This story is disturbing too. Speaking of people who are inconsiderate, a man used a toy gun to carjack nuns after leaving mass. Yes. Nuns. Yeah. If you thought you needed I'm going to have you guess where this guy is from who carjacked the nuns.
Florida.
No.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Think of the Florida of the North. If you think of the Florida of the North, where would you put it?
Oh boy. I don't know. You're stumping me. What's the Florida of the North? Not Minnesota. Oh, Wisconsin.
It's just me taking a shot.
Wisconsin friends.
We go to St. Louis, where a Wisconsin man is already in custody for leading police on a high-speed chase in a stolen car, and he faces an added charge for the theft itself. According to the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department's probable cause statement, the carjacking occurred on August 17th in the 4300 block of Lindale Boulevard in the Central West End neighborhood. Police said 2 nuns had left mass when 25-year-old Jordan T. Grundy confronted them with what appeared to be a firearm. Grundy then took off in the nun's vehicle, which is a 2016 Ford. The car is 9 years old, and it's a Ford.
And there's nuns in it.
Surveillance cameras recorded the crime, thank goodness. Police located the car in the area of Jefferson Avenue and Locust Street and pursued Grundy. During the 10-minute pursuit, police said Grundy ran multiple traffic lights, drove into oncoming traffic and smashed into a bystander vehicle. So he ruined the nun's vehicle. Ultimately, Grundy crashed the stolen car into a tree. Nice. Grundy and a passenger attempted to flee on foot, but were apprehended, according to police. Police found a toy gun inside the stolen car, matching the nun's description of the weapon. Grundy was also wearing the same shoes and shorts as seen on the surveillance video. A green hat and sunglasses worn by the carjacker were also found in the car. Cell phone data showed Grundy was in the area at the time of the carjacking and followed the path of the stolen vehicle. The St. Louis Circuit Attorney's Office charged Grundy with first-degree robbery. He was previously charged with aggravated fleeing, leaving the scene of an accident with physical injury, and resisting arrest. By the way, Grundy remains jailed without bond. He's due in court September 17th. Carjacked two nuns. Not only
That gets a prize of some sort, right?
Right. Not only going to face the wrath of a court, but now God hates him.
The wrath of God.
The wrath of God. You got to, buddy, you got to go to jail, and then you got to go to Judgment Day. You got two stops. Way to go. All right. This breaking and entering is an unusual one, Jess. I'm going to tell you about the breaking and entering and then tell you who did it. This breaking and entering happened at a nursing home in northeastern Japan Saturday and happened by going through a window. Who did it? It's not a who, it's a what.
What?
It was a bear.
Oh, naughty bear.
Right. The animal fled without injuring residents or staff at the facility in Aizu Town, Fukushima Prefecture. Police say the 1 meter long bear entered right after being spotted by a staff member at about 6:30 a.m. Staff members fled to a nearby room and called on the whole six residents of the home to lock their doors. When police arrived, the bear had gone, apparently having escaped by breaking through glass in the front door. That's one cheeky bear and definitely knows his way out of a situation. That's for sure. He just broke the glass and went through.
Smart bear, honestly.
Yeah, smart bear. Police are warning people in the area to be cautious of bears. The town has set off fireworks and placed traps in the area. I don't know if they do that to celebrate the bear by setting off fireworks or just to scare it, one or the other. But
That's why he comes back. He's like, they love me here. It's like a parade.
yeah, hey, they're celebrating me. They got fireworks. Now they're laying out picnics and all that other stuff. This is a place to be, right?
They're really sending mixed messages, honestly.
They are, yeah. They really should just calm things down. Bear sightings have risen to a record in Fukushima Prefecture, prompting the that's hard to say, prefectural government to issue a warning against Asian black bears for the Nakadori and Aizu regions on Thursday. I think it's kind of racist to warn people against the Asian black bears. I think they're nice. I don't think we should be racist against Asian black
I think they need to warn them against all bears then, if that's what
That's-
they're doing.
That's right. Asian black bears matter. So we'll just put it that way. All right. This next story is unusual, and then we're getting to not safe for work territory. I believe is our next after that. Are we in? Yes. Not safe for work territory after this next story. Oh no, are we getting to nuts? No, this is not safe for work territory. That's right, because there's a bad word.
Where?
Yes. It's time now for not safe for work. With that, you need to lock up your kids, lock up your wife, lock up your boss. It's about to get naughty in here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. We don't have time to stop, folks. We got to keep going. We're going to Arkansas. You know, football is a big thing, college football, as you know, Jess. You got a couple of kids in college down at Iowa State. Cyclone football is a big thing, right?
It's a big deal.
So is Arkansas Razorback football.
Oh, yeah.
They take that seriously down in Arkansas. Well, an Arkansas football fan attacked a couple of women at a tailgate party. But the headline here is he thought twice as that Arkansas football fan attacked women at a tailgate party and got stopped in his tracks after a black man uttered a few words to him.
Ooh, what did he say?
I'm about to tell you. In Arkansas, or it says Arkansas football fans gathered for a tailgate party at War Memorial Stadium in Little Rock on September 6th to watch the long-awaited rivalry game between Arkansas State University and the University of Arkansas. However, the festivities turned violent when an unruly fan started a fight with several women at the event. In a disturbing online video, the attacker, Charles Lockhart, is seen putting one woman in a headlock and slamming another woman's face into a vehicle. That doesn't sound like a good tailgate party.
No,
No.
that's bad.
No. Allegedly because of a dispute about loud music. You're at a tailgate party. Loud music is part of it, right?
It's part of the fun.
That's right. If it weren't for the help of some good Samaritans, a group of black men who intervened, the injuries could have been much worse. It all started because the crazed man was incensed that he couldn't hear the name on his TV at the tailgate event. Yes, this man brought a TV to the tailgate event.
Dude, you're doing it all wrong.
That's right. That's right. If you're not talking to your buddies, having a beer, and instead of having your nose in a TV.
Yeah, it's a social event.
Yeah, like Jess said, you're doing it all wrong. This, according to Policia Dorse, who posted a video of the outburst on Facebook. If he wanted to hear the game, he should have bought tickets and actually went into the stadium. This guy didn't even go into the stadium. He was watching his TV in the parking lot.
Oh, maybe he didn't have tickets.
He didn't. This is how white trash he was. He went to the stadium, watched the TV in the parking lot.
Oh, I feel kind of bad for him. He was just angry because he wanted to be inside.
But if you want to hear the game, go home. Right? Yeah. Don't want to be part of the atmosphere and then not hear the game, right? I mean, it's stupid. Again, that's why we call this dumb crime, stupid criminals. Observers on social media describe him as appearing possessed in the video, and he heaped praise on the men who stepped in to quell the chaos. They were very polite and respectful, too. Thank you, gentlemen, read one of the many comments. Now, in the video, Lockhart can be heard yelling obscenities while struggling with several female football fans. At one point shouting, "Let go of my dick." And I'm going to run into you I'm going to run you into this motherfucking wall, bitch. Nice guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Up for Good Samaritan. Yeah.
Charming, really.
He really is charming. Yeah. I can imagine he gets laid on the regular. When he grabbed a woman by the hair and began slamming her face into a vehicle, an unidentified black man yelled, "Stop it," while other men gathered around. One person firmly yet calmly told him, "All you have to do is go that way," pointing to the opposite direction of the chaos. And miraculously, he listened and walked away. My guess is this man was probably about 3 feet taller than this little man.
Yeah.
And when the man walked up and said, "All you have to do is go that way," my guess is he had this cold stare that probably looked like, "I will fucking bury you if you do any more.
You will die."
Yeah, you will die right now, right? However, according to Doors, who posted the video, he didn't learn his lesson at that point. He tried to fight the women again shortly after and got beat up really bad, she wrote. But she did not include more details about what happened. "Let go of my dick is insane. I am literally screaming," exclaimed one shocked person on social media, followed by, "Girl, that comment sent me up," another said. He was about to swing at the brothers, but he thought twice and made the right decision. "You don't want any of that, sir." Lockhart was arrested later that day by the Pulaski County Sheriff's Department and charged with public intoxication and disorderly conduct. Again, you can get drunk and watch the Razorbacks at home.
Yes, I think that's what you should do. That is solid advice from Tim.
Yeah, you don't have to do it in the parking lot. All right. And another story that's bizarre here, Jess. We go to Missouri, where $213,000 was stolen from an elderly man for the strip club and luxury items, according to the police.
Oh, wow.
Someone had a good time on this guy's dime. A Baldwin man is facing felony charges following stealing over $200,000 from an elderly roommate over the course of nearly a year, according to officials. Records say the victim, a 78-year-old man with limited hearing and sight, moved in with one of his friends following a hospital stay. He depended on Jeffrey Lewis, the homeowner's son, to help him manage paying bills. A check was made to Lewis for $78,000 to complete home renovations on a separate property the victim owned, but there was no work done. There's a shock. Additionally, Lewis used the victim's credit card from June of 2024 to this May, stealing over $135,000 in charges that did not reflect large monetary payments of victims' bills or any payments for benefits for victims' health and living expenses. According to documents, Lewis dropped several $1,000s at the Pony Strip Club, several thousand more for a female dancer, the Louis Vuitton store. I'm guessing that said stripper got the Louis Vuitton items.
Lucky girl.
Right? Hellsberg Diamond Jewelry Store, because Hellsberg sends the very best. I don't know what their slogan is, Jess. I haven't been there first. And personal travel expenses. I'm guessing said stripper went on a trip. Or 2 or 3.
That girl was living the life.
She was. He told the police he didn't know what happened to the money when confronted. It just evaporated. Lewis is charged with 2 counts of financial exploitation of an elderly or disabled person, which is a Class A felony. He's currently being held under a $200,000 bond. All right. Our next story. If you're ready for this, this is a crime of a different kind. A crime in which a doctor went to go get his license back or renew his license, but he was kind of busted out for committing the crime of not paying attention during an operation.
Uh-oh.
For a whole different reason, Jess. Tell me, if you would, how you'd feel if you were going to get an operation, kind of a serious operation, and you found your doctor dipped out to get some.
Ooh.
From your
wow. From a nurse?
Yeah. And then they just went right back to it. A doctor.
I guess I'd just be glad they didn't do it in front of me.
Right. Well, you're out, right? Does it really matter at that point?
I guess not.
Yeah. A doctor left a patient on the operating table under anesthetic to go and have sex with a nurse in another room, according to a medical tribunal that was that had to hear a doctor's statement earlier this month. Dr. Suhail Anjum, who's all of 44 years old, and the unnamed nurse were caught in a compromising position by a shocked colleague at Tameside Hospital in Greater Manchester. This is in England. The incident was in September of 2023 and came to light in a fitness to practice hearing after Dr. Anjum, who had been living in Pakistan, applied to work in the UK again. He did not dispute the evidence against him presented by the General Medical Council during the hearing in Manchester and said his behavior had been, quote unquote, shameful. The consultant anesthesiast had said that he needed a comfort break and asked another nursing colleague to monitor the male patient halfway through the procedure. So, in other words, hey, you know what? We just look after this guy so he doesn't, die under anesthesia. I'm going to go, knock one out.
Like, how hot are you for each other that you have to have it right then? Like, you can't wait. You're just looking across this body all, cut open, and you're like,
yeah, right now. Instead, Dr. Anjum went to another operating theater in the hospital in Ashton-under-Lyne, where he had sex with a woman referred to in the hearing as Nurse C, as in CD shorts rising. Wow. Andrew Malloy, representing the GMC, said the nurse who walked in on the pair had been shocked and quickly walked through the theater to the exit doors. Yeah, I can't imagine being a colleague walking in and going, whoopsie, we're going to have to sanitize that operating theater.
Ew.
Yikes. Dr. Anjum, who was gone for about 8 minutes, I can't believe they timed it, came back into the theater and completed his work. Let's hope he scrubbed up.
Ew, I hope he washed his hands.
Yeah. Mr. Malloy added, it is right to say that no harm came to the patient when Dr. Anjum was absent from the theater and the procedure went on without further incident. He said the nurse who discovered them went on to report the matter to her line manager. Before the case was opened by the GMC, Dr. Anjum said he did not dispute the facts of the case and admitted engaging in sexual activity with Nurse C. Would that be Nurse C as in hepatitis C? I mean, I'm not quite sure, but I mean, it could. I mean,
Could be.
it might be. He said he knew she was likely to be nearby when he left his patient. He also admitted his actions had the potential to put his patient at risk. Dr. Anjum told the Medical Practitioners Tribunal Service he wanted to resume his career in the UK and promised there would never be a repeat of a one-off error of judgment. I doubt that was the first and last time he did that.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, if he got away with it once, he probably got away with
And
it.
probably not with just Nurse C, if I had to guess.
There was probably an A through Z.
Yeah.
Giving evidence, Dr. Anjum said it was quite shameful to say the least. I only have myself to blame. He said he let his colleagues and the NHS trust down. By the way, the hearing is ongoing. So, boy, it's a good thing we don't have Kroger here in Minnesota. You remember?
Why is something disgusting going to happen at Kroger?
Yes, Jess. Remember how disgusted you were about the yogurt?
No, I don't want to think about it. I've blocked it from my mind.
Yeah. I want you to imagine, where do you shop, by the way? I suppose you don't have to tell people if you don't want to.
I mean, no, it's fine. I like to shop at Target or Costco. Sometimes Cub. Cub is a local one here.
Okay. Let's use Cub as an example. You got the cart and you're going up and down the aisles of Cub. Yeah. And let's say, you're in the fresh produce aisle, right? Oh, strawberries are on sale. Oh, you know what? I'm going to pick up a pint of strawberries. And as you go to pick up that pint of strawberries, along comes this guy right here. This guy right here, Jess, there he is.
Okay.
And he goes and he puts some mysterious liquid on your pants.
Oh, no, he does not. He better not.
Well, that's what this Farmington Hills, Michigan man did. A Kroger. He was accused of doing that to more than one person.
It better be Elmer's glue, Tim.
Well, I think we're about to find out that that's not the case, Jess. This man's only 20 years old and was charged with criminal sexual conduct. The Farmington Hills Police Department has arrested a man linked to 2 assault incidents at the Kroger store on Middle Belt Road. On September 5th, a woman reported that while shopping at Kroger, a man later identified as 20-year-old Dion Otis Grant of Southfield put an unknown liquid onto the back of her pants. So he's like, here's one on your ass, girl. I mean, I just imagine that's what it was like. On September 8th, police say Grant returned to the same Kroger and was recognized by store staff who called 911. Before officers arrived, Grant again put an unknown liquid onto another woman's pants. Oh, you dirty weasel. Officers arrested Grant as he tried to flee. So they did end up getting him before he left the store. The investigation was submitted to the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office, which authorized a 2-count warrant for 4th-degree criminal sexual conduct, 1 count for each victim. Grant was arraigned on September 10th, pled not guilty, and was released on a $10,000 personal bond. Conditions of his release prohibit him from contacting the victims or returning to the Kroger store. Police are currently testing the 2 pairs of pants to determine what was on them. So we do not have a definitive answer, Jess. So
I think we all know.
I think we all know what was on those pants. By the way, his next court date, September 19th. So keep that in mind. We will keep you updated. Right here on the Big Dumb Crime Stupid Criminals. Are you a Benson Boone fan?
Yeah, I like Benson Boone.
Okay.
He seems very sweet.
Yeah, he does. I actually became a little bit of a fan of him while watching SNL. He was the musical guest on SNL.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I thought, good songs. I liked what I heard.
I like his music, and he seems like a genuinely nice person.
Yes, he does. His cameraman, on the other hand, his judgment might leave a little something to,
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Definitely not such a beautiful thing as the headline here, Jess. The cameraman for Benson Boone was busted for a public pee spree.
Ooh.
A cameraman touring with Benson Boone was arrested for relieving himself on about $700 worth of clothing at a beachside shop in Florida. Finally, Florida back in the news. Yeah.
Why on the clothes, brother?
Right? Investigators say that 39-year-old Tyler Capehart, let me show you a picture of what a cameraman for Benson Boone looks like. There you go.
Whoa.
Yeah, he's colorful.
He is something else with that green hair and those big eyes and that giant beard.
Yep, isn't he? He's like you said, he's colorful. And he needs his dye job redone because his roots are really showing. I mean, he's been on the road for a while.
Decide if that was like a balayage effect, like he did that on purpose. He just did the tips.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
He's been out there.
I think you're right, though. I think it's just a grow out situation.
It is, yeah. He's just getting lazy. Yeah, he just needs to.
He's so lazy he can't even go find a bathroom.
Yeah, right. And when you got to relieve yourself on the clothes, I mean, you should probably hold it till you get to the men's room.
Yeah. Do you think he was like woohoo and like twirling around and like hitting everything he could?
I'm gonna write my name on the Levi's. Irony. So he was. Investigators say that 39-year-old Tyler Capehart entered the Surf Style shop in Clearwater on Thursday afternoon, walked up to the retailer's second floor. Workers then observed Capehart via CCTV standing between racks of clothing for an extended period of time. Something's going on when that happens. After Capehart walked away from the merchandise, a manager observed the clothing and floor to be covered in urine. The clothing is unable to be sold. Reported cops who added that the total value of the property damaged $689.30.
Wow, that was an expensive pee.
Yeah, it was. When subsequently confronted by police, Capehart, who appeared to be intoxicated, there's a shock, reportedly advised he consumed alcohol and smoked marijuana. Because the days is long there on the road with Benson Boone.
Yeah.
Yep. As for allegedly relieving himself in the store, Capehart advised he did not have any recollection of urinating on the clothing or floor inside Surf Style. Because the days is long there on the road with Benson Boone.
Thought he was in a bathroom, in his defense.
Yeah. Capehart was busted for criminal mischief and disorderly intoxication, misdemeanors for which he was booked into the county jail after posting only $650 bond, Jess. That was it.
So low.
It was only $639 for the clothing.
I guess.
The Georgia resident was released from custody this week, a day before Boone's American Heart World Tour stops at Tampa's Benchmark International Arena. While the arrest report lists Capehart's employer as Benson Boone, so he got named. It appears that he works as a camera operator for the firm responsible for the in-concert video that appears on screens. Behind the backflip-prone performer, Capehart's name appears in the credits that roll at the conclusion of a Boone performance. So I think instead of Tyler Capehart, it should just say Pee-Pee Man at the end of the concert. Pee-Pee Boy. I think that's suitable punishment for now.
Or you could call him the Wiz.
There you go, the Wiz. Tyler the Wiz Capehart. I think if Benson Boone is listening, one, that would be a minor miracle, and he should write us, or at least give us a shout out at his concert. And two, thank Jess for the new nickname, Tyler the Wiz Capehart.
You're welcome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. That is our final story for the day. We do have a palate cleanser because we need one after someone's whizzed on our clothes.
And wiped questionable things on the back of our pants.
Right. It's been a traumatic day, Jess. So our palate cleanser for today has to do with this. Some people just can't get through life alone. They need others, and they need things to pick them up. In this case, this man has an emotional support animal, but not just any emotional support animal, Jess. This man has an emotional support alligator.
What?
Yes.
That would not support me emotionally. That would scare me.
Well, maybe you, but not this man. We go to Pennsylvania, where a man's emotional support alligator was banned from Walmart after receiving the VIP treatment at different restaurants he'd been to.
Can you imagine though? That would be weird, but so adorable to see a alligator just, walking through and supporting their person in Walmart.
I'm going to show you a picture of said person and said emotional support alligator. There he is.
Oh, that's actually adorable.
There they are right there, lovingly sitting together.
Yes.
I can't wait until he amputates his foot without the
I'd
doctor
be so
saying.
afraid.
I know, right? See you later, alligator is the byline. A Pennsylvania man's emotional support alligator can no longer accompany her owner inside a Walmart after their recent trip to the store stunned shoppers. 60-year-old alligator owner Wesley Silva revealed his pet. Is this really the name? Jinsayoshi? That's a heck of a name for an alligator.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it is. That's a whole lot. Was banned from a Walmart in West Brownsville, Pennsylvania. That's a lot of extra. But you know what? If you have an emotional support alligator, you are a little extra.
I think so.
Yeah. Despite Silva claiming their public outings had never been an issue in the past. You mean to tell me you bring an alligator wherever you go and you've never had an issue?
I mean, people are probably too afraid to say anything.
Oh, I wouldn't be.
What would you be mad if you saw someone with an alligator in their lap just cruising around? I'd want to pet it.
I might go, dude, what the fuck? That might be and I'm not the type to say anything to anybody, but honestly, in that moment, dude, what the fuck?
I mean, do you get to pick whatever animal you want for emotional support? It's so weird to me. Some people have chickens.
If they're trained properly, they have a vest on that says emotional support animal.
Did that alligator have a vest? I don't think I saw a vest.
No. Yeah. Well, there's a vest on, but it's not an emotional support vest.
Oh.
Yeah.
How does one train an alligator?
You don't. It trains you. Yeah.
Huh.
Silva told WPXI on Wednesday, "We've gone to restaurants. We've been to Denny's, where she's a star there. She gets VIP treatment." Well, yeah, because it's a friggin' alligator. I'd pretty much do whatever it asked too.
I think at Denny's, they're just used to seeing everything.
They are, yeah. And, I mean, whenever you serve meth heads all day long, you pretty much do whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and then once the bar's let out, you got all those people.
Yeah. The 5-foot-long reptile was photographed at least 2 different times earlier this month by shocked customers in the store located just south of Pittsburgh. In one photo, the 32-pound pet wore a gray dress as Silva pushed her around in a shopping cart, which I have a photo of here, Jess. A separate photo showed Jinsayoshi wearing a shirt with a harness. Silva said that the leashed reptile usually gets a warm welcome in public, and he was upset that Walmart banned his pet after images of their shopping trip surfaced. This is one of the images right here of Jinsayoshi in a cart.
God, I can't. She is literally wearing a dress.
Yeah, she's wearing a dress. There she is, right?
I mean, she looks like she could eat my head off, and also she's super cute.
I would never bring Spud with me shopping. It would.
I have so many confused emotions when I look at that picture. Am I scared? And do I love her? Do I want to pet her? Do I want to run screaming?
Walmart said in a statement to the outlet, "The safety of our customers and associates is our highest priority. We welcome service animals in all of our stores, but it is unacceptable to expose members of the public to potential danger. Accordingly, alligators are not permitted on our premises." And I would just add, why? Because common sense is a thing. It really is. It's a thing, and we should exercise it.
I agree. Although I kind of want an emotional support elephant now because I feel like I could ride that, and that would be cool.
An emotional support elephant.
You know that scene from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom where they ride the elephants?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. See, I would like one of those inside a Walmart. That'd be fun.
Doing my shopping, the elephant can grab my items with that giant, schnoz.
Trunk. Yeah. You can call it a
I
trunk.
couldn't think of words.
All right. Giant schnoz. Walmart only welcomes service animals like dogs and miniature horses. So you could ride a miniature horse into Walmart. I shit you.
Heck yeah. Okay.
Giddy up. That's all I got to say. Right?
I think I'd break a miniature horse's back, but there's potential there.
Hey, I'm all for it. Silva reacted when asked about the pet ban. He said, I'll just go with the flow. Silva claimed that he hasn't experienced much pushback from the public and businesses since Jin Sayoshi's belly crawled into his life 4 years ago. It's been positive, and I was really taken aback by that. You shouldn't be, dude. It's a fucking alligator. I mean, come on. People are gonna go, oh, gator. Yeah. Silva adopted the gator after his neighbor, who received the animal as a gift, wasn't able to take care of her anymore because she's huge.
That's terrifying.
And it probably ate his kids. Just saying. He said, I did some research. I have kids of my own, and I didn't want to put anyone in jeopardy. And after some research, I was like, you know what? I'll take her. Why? Because you wanted to get rid of your kids? I don't know why.
God.
I don't get this. Would you have an emotional support gator around your kids?
No. I mean, to be fair, though, I don't know anything about gators. I just have the perception that they could, eat my arm off or something.
Yeah. To give you an idea, Jess, gators grow to be more than 12 feet long and weigh as much as 1,000 pounds.
Dear God.
So should they decide they want you as food, you probably aren't going to fight that decision.
But she must be a miniature then, because he's had her for several years. Is she not fully grown?
I think he probably stunted her growth with a bunch of shit from Walmart. He probably just keeps feeding her circus peanuts and candy and crap.
I was just thinking, though, if she gets that big, he could ride her. I'm like an elephant, only lower to the ground.
Yeah, put a saddle on her and ride her around Walmart.
Yeah. I'd hate to see that.
Yeah. Pennsylvania does not have a state law against owning an alligator. I think maybe they should revisit that.
He never thought they'd have to.
Right? I don't think they're native to
No.
In 2023,
Definitely not.
a Philadelphia Phillies fan was denied entry into Citizens Bank Park when he tried to walk through the stadium's gates with his emotional support alligator. So it's not the first time they've ever heard of this.
What the heck?
People are different in Pennsylvania. Especially Philly. But that's why we love them.
They're fun.
Here's the other thing, and then we're out of here today, Jess. A family accidentally lit fireworks instead of birthday candles. Again. So this isn't the first time it happened.
Oh, no.
This is happening in Germany. A birthday wish in Germany almost came with third-degree burns after a family stuck fireworks on top of a cake. The footage, now racking up views online, shows 20-year-old asking a car. I've never asked a car anything, but hey, why not? Leaning over his cake while relatives set up what everyone assumed was standard sparklers. This is why you never put sparklers on a goddamn cake. I'll tell you, Cheesecake Factory, it's a bad idea. Don't set up the standard for anybody, and people won't do it at home. Seconds later, the room filled with flames and screams as the candles, quote unquote, shot off like a pyrotechnics demo in the middle of the dining room. Everyone is running and ducking to avoid the flaming shrapnel. At first, I was shocked. Me and my brother both, the car told Need to Know. It felt like a dream, or a bit of a dream, because I was not even thinking anymore. My body just reacted on its own, like in a movie scene. I bet it did. I tell you what, I'm going to post this in the description of this program so you can watch this family freak out when fireworks go off on top of a cake. You have to see it for yourself. I can't do it justice, Jess. The clip shows him and his brother diving under the table while the fireworks continue to blast for what felt like forever. Guests can be heard panicking and covering their faces. Jesus. As sparks ricochet around the room and smoke fills the air. The big fireworks started and I got really scared, a car said. It felt a little bit like torture, but also hilarious at the same time, a mix of panic and disbelief that this was actually happening. Again, I'll post this so you can see it, but it's just a little notice that, hey, you shouldn't put fireworks on top of your cake. And again, it's not the first time it's happened with this family. They did it twice.
You think you'd learn your lesson the first time? Nope.
But, that's how they do things in Germany. All right, that'll do it for today. Couple of reminders. Troy Palmer is the executive producer of this program. Thank you so much, Troy, for everything you do. Two, if you're watching, or if you're listening to this program, not watching it, the original Darkness Radio on YouTube, or just go to darknessradioshow.com, click on the show that you want to watch, and you can see the video on top of the audio. They're all in one place, darknessradioshow.com. Also, our friends at Mysterious, I forgot the name of the tour company now, Jess. Mysterious Adventures Tours. There we go.
There you go. There it is.
I just had to shake my brain loose there for a minute. It's getting a little older. Mysterious Adventures Tours have some tours that we need you to check out right now because the dates are coming up quick. Halloween. It's 6 weeks away now. But you can get in on these tours right now. Dacre Stoker is taking you to Romania for Halloween to party at Dracula's castle on Halloween. Think about that. That's pretty cool. Brand Castle.
Sounds so fun.
Not only that, but also Brian J. Cano is taking you to the place where it all started, where Halloween all started, and that's Ireland and the Puka Festival. So that trip is available as well. Plus, next summer is the Paranormal Cruise with Grant Wilson, Brian J. Cano, and Dustin Perry. And I believe Darkness Radio is a sponsor of that. So get in on the, there's a sign up for that to get more information for that. So sign up right now to get more information for that. So there you go. All right, that'll do it for today. Tomorrow, Supernatural News with myself and Jess. It's coming up tomorrow on Darkness Radio. And then Thursday, Jess, we welcome back a couple of old friends as we talk about Mothman.
Ooh, I love Mothman.
Mothman Festival is this coming weekend.
Awesome.
We're in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. So we're going to celebrate a little bit early and talk about Mothman. So yeah, that's coming up this week. That's what's in store on Darkness Radio. All right, for Jessica Freeberg, I'm Tim Dennis. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll see you tomorrow. But thank you so much for joining us today on the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday.
For more audio and video archives of True Crime Tuesday, intriguing content, fun events, and cool swag, check out darknessradioshow.com. The executive producer of True Crime Tuesday is Troy Palmer. If you enjoyed today's program, make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and make sure you join us tomorrow for Supernatural News with Jessica Freeberg.